Welcome. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 205 of the Winners and Losers Show. It's me, your host, Hank Thompson, hosting the show for you tonight, Hank Thompson. Hello. All right, that's the end of the show. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. No, I'm not retaking, not gonna well, did you guys have a nice day yesterday on November 5th, the election day? Fucking shit. What the fuck? Well, yeah, they don't. Are you here for insights and grief? Maybe some grief. We could probably process some grief together, but we grieve for the future and the present, and of course the past, which is what causes the future, right? Everything about that. So, well, I'm not going to give. We got a lot of videos to go through. I watched the campaign coverage. I'm going to just kind of talk about my experience yesterday watching it. I was trying to be like, Hank, your listeners are going to want to know what the day was like for you. You should be streaming. You should be recording yourself watching stuff all day and then reacting and making clips. I didn't want to do any of that shit. I've been in kind of a freeze mode, maybe functional freeze, me and my friends in the trying to get our shit together community would call it. Hoping to, well, or just, sort of operating, but also kind of clamped down in terms of potentials, functional freeze, and barely getting through the days on top of the autistic burnout and the other stressors and the hyper thinking and the bad sleep and the, no offense to the cat, but to the cat, not her fault. I just can't handle having an animal in my room. I think I'd be bothered if I had a Roomba that I had to if it barfed all the time. But yeah, so the election. And so what I did is I recorded some of the shows I was watching as it started to get going in terms of the results and stuff. The day is weird. It was sort of a strange. So we're going to look at some of those. It's mostly Majority Report, if I'm to be honest. I didn't realize how Majority Report dominant I have it. But a little bit of TYT. I was just sort of seeing what they were saying. And then some Daily Wire I should say. You'll see it later. Lots of interesting stuff there. I haven't really ever watched much of those types of Daily Wire programs at all because it's not my thing. And man, it is a whole different world over there. And it's their world now. They get to call the shots. That kind of guy that's just like obsessed with everybody else's genitals and skin color and yeah, it's gross. It's weird. Fucking hell. So yeah, so I some stuff I recorded myself will be in DaVinci to watch that, and then there's just a whole bunch of YouTube clips and some Twitter stuff that we're gonna go through. Yeah, it's before we get to that, I don't even know how to get to any. I'm just so sad for the future. Like what I thought. So yesterday while watching stuff, and then today while getting ready, and it's taken me forever to get ready. It's like 4:00 already, and I just started to record here. I go through these like in my brain. I'm always sort of getting ready to record and thinking of stuff, or just trying to think about it, or not think about it, or whatever. And there are moments where I feel like I have clarity in how my paragraph generator is working. Thoughts coming out. Oh, that's a good thought. Save that one for later. Oh, that's interesting. And now that I'm sitting here talking, I don't have all that's gone. It's just not there for me right now. So sorry. I'm just going to emote a little bit. And when we get into the videos, that'll trigger some of the thoughts to come back and stuff. So I don't know what to say. An interesting kind of progression occurred yesterday where we all hoped I voted for Kamala because I voted against the Republicans. I hate the Republicans. I hate Trump especially. I vote against Republicans. That's all I've ever voted for. The only nominally excited I was to vote for anybody was Bernie Sanders. I did a whole bunch of stuff thinking maybe I'd do a podcast yesterday before the election, or just to get out some thoughts about the whole fight the left is having with its if you vote third party, if you vote Jill Stein, if you vote Cornel West, all this, that, and this and that, and all of that is just like by the wayside right now. Now it is, at least. But we're going to be seeing a lot of fighting. I was sort of anticipating a Kamala victory. Worst case scenario would have been like a long drawn out legal thing that was very close, which would have fueled the right, given the right a whole bunch of ammo for the next several years to whine and bitch and moan. I should have probably considered the idea that a country foundationally rooted in white supremacy and in violence that has not done the work, the shadow work, you might say, to at least there's the capacity for America to do some of that for some of us. But as a collective, we have not. And if anything, as a collective, we've been dragged or held down into the hell of what this country's capable of. And I'm even getting like, for instance, we're still not over the Civil War, a thing that happened in the 1860s, which was sourced back through to a long process of chattel slavery and genocide and colonial processes that eventually led to that. But the way we reacted to it has only been to like keep these poltergeists alive. Like, and then similarly throughout history following from then, is my mic working still? We end up with attempts to move the needle back towards progress. Sorry, my microphone is crapping out on me for some reason. And then at times there's been some progressive progress or some progress in the 30s. There was a brief period of progress after the Civil War, which we call Reconstruction. There was a big backlash to that, which brought about the terror state of the KKK and the Jim Crow era that flowed out of the early turn of the century as industrialization was maturing into these horrifying factories and the cities were becoming mature. And then the New Deal Democrats came around as a kind of a response to some of that, is particularly in an international context of the time, saving capitalism from itself, implementing very, very popular programs, Social Security. The Americans love their socialism. They just hate anything that it stinks of socialism, because at least to the point where it's above it's within their consciousness access. And I think the American, I'm just picturing this right now, but Americans' consciousness tends to be a very shallow pool. I feel like that's maybe a reasonable, like what's available and then pulled up in order to create justifications and to create narratives that people use to tell themselves. The delusion, the role delusion plays in all of our lives, it's not just Americans, but you, me, everybody, is worth examining and trying to be conscientious of. So what the hell am I saying? Slight bits of progress, then major backlash. Slight bits of progress, then major backlash. There's a huge the Reagan era is essentially a backlash to the civil rights era, and the dividends coming forward from the many decade-long project the right wing has been imposing following the Powell memo, and their not awareness, their certainty, or their, I guess they call it an awareness that people don't like a society run by white supremacist capitalist monsters. But if you impose immense cultural control and social engineering, and you create conditions for business to thrive, you can, by commodifying everything, by leaning hard into neoliberalism, which is where every problem in the world can only be solved by private ownership of commodities, and you neglect to build any kind of infrastructure within human, like mental processing, human, like American cognition. Our education system's absolutely terrible. That's not to blame the people who are educators. It's to blame the project of the anti-democracy, anti-education project of keeping the people stupid. It pays off. It's paying off big. Then you bring in the internet and these phones, and our attention spans are wrecked. And then we'll get to the videos here now that I've gotten to the attention span stuff. I wasn't planning it. I'm just trying to make some sense here. I think the biggest problem we have is attention span, because that's foundational to every other problem, is the ability to understand. short-term memory, and attention span. AKA, well, then short-term memory, is what seeds long-term memory, precedes it. So with all of our brains being scrambled by these for-profit social media things, and by the way, the phone occupies your a part of your body. It's like real bad. It's real bad. I mean, there's a whole bunch of trends. Everybody's figuring out but apparently Trump did really well with Latino males. White people, white men turned up big for Trump. Young white men are leaning real hard conservative. That's a major problem that needs to be sort of reckoned with. White women, I believe, voted for Trump. I mean, it's just like stunning that there's people that aren't given. You have to always have to remember that people have vastly different information than you, and they also are probably operating under a whole different interface with the way they conceptualize their role in their government, in their society, meaning their relationship to their government. Much of it, I think, gets mediated through the media that they consume, and internet media, I think, is now dominant over mainstream established stuff. So we could go over and over. I mean, it's not like I have all the answers here, by the way. A lot of this is just kind of barfing out thoughts. But I think it's a really dangerous era that we're entering with the attention span collapse that's caused by this stuff, because nobody can learn anything if it's not for that, and myself included. And I'm trying to partly what I'm doing here. I did say that I'm going to get to move on here, but I have one more thought. Is that like I got to take care of myself better. I feel calm today less right now than I have earlier. I haven't been having like a big meltdown today. I sort of gave up last night. I was dialed into the various shows. I was just trying to jump it around a little bit. God, I'm out of breath. I got to get my fucking shit together, man. And so, but I went to bed at like 9. I was just like, I'm just too overwhelmed by this. Nothing's gonna get better if I just stay up all night scrolling and feeling shitty. So I turned on Terra Nova on Amazon. It's the only streaming service I currently have, and I'm guilty supporting Jeff Bezos, who, does anything show like the power of business and its overlap and its interest in fascism and in right-wing ideology than this guy owning the Washington Post and then forbidding any kind of endorsement because he knew they would endorse terrorists. And Jeff Bezos refused to allow the Washington Post editorial board to have an endorsement. Not that they're some stalwart, bastion of like decency and integrity or whatever, but the paper's owned by world's richest guy. When you say world's richest guy, usually people think Musk. It's Musk, Bezos, or this French dude who owns like a bunch of brands, and it bounces around between those three guys. Nevertheless, it's a weird thing to get pedantic about. No, it's actually because these guys' valuations can fluctuate from tens of billions of dollars one week to the next, one day to the next. So, but Jeff Bezos is up there. He's one of the top 2 or 3. An absolute demon of our world. One of the most effective people. If you charged a squad of people with destroying the earth, he's on the top. He's one of the top performers. And you can see that someone as powerful as Jeff Bezos preemptively, I guess the word is cucking. And although I do think the cuck community deserves a little defense, I feel like those people are probably having a fine time in their bedrooms. But immediately, before the election even happens, making what's probably a rational strategic choice to not piss off the potential authoritarian that's going to come in, the potential ruler, the potential dictator, the king, the guy who's promising to take over the society, this insanity that Trump represents. And just to speak to the way that business and authoritarianism and fascism and like one thing that you should always notice, that I always notice at least, is that when something is good for business, when there's good news for profits for businessmen, anything that businessmen are celebrating always means someone's getting hurt. Someone's life is going to be exploited. Some resources are going to be drained and the people who carve the resources out of the grounds aren't going to be properly, compensated, and they're going to leave a wasteland behind them. So whenever there's good business news, just notice that. How do we build a world where good news for business also means good news for everybody? Doesn't that sound crazy, what I just said? That's the world that they are desperate to avoid. They're desperate to avoid giving us the chance to build a world where enterprise and commerce is a positive in everybody's life, because we build a world where people can lean into their leisure ethic instead of their work ethic. The sickness we have here in this society that everything has to revolve around work. And then they got you working. They got you either starve in the streets or you work. And they call us free. We don't have anything close to freedom. It's fucking gross. But good things for business always means bad things for people. It means a good thing for a small sliver of people because everybody wants a fucking shortcut. Working sucks. All work sucks. I like effort. You give me some woodworking project or something that I like doing, you can't stop me from working on it. I'm a big engine. I have a big old strong engine in me for that kind of shit. Or working to help somebody else, to work with other people, whatever. But to find work that pays and work that gives you money is not something I've had an easy time doing. But everybody wants the shortcut. Nobody wants to do anything. Cleaning toilets, cooking, cleaning, doing anything. That's what Wall Street is. That's what slavery is. You get someone else to do something and you benefit from someone else's work and you manipulate the systems that are around you. And especially since America allows corruption and political, the bribery system, what we call campaign finance, empowers this way that people rationally, quote unquote, change the rules, manipulate the game so that they can get the most benefit for the least amount of work, especially if it means ego proofing and all this other stuff. There's so much, you can live in an immense amount of luxury on a few $1 million. I'm kind of all over the place, but God. All right. So that's okay. Here's what we're going to do. First, you'll see in the headlines. Rolling Stone writes, America elects convicted felon to be president. Donald Trump easily defeated Kamala Harris to win a second term, which promises to be a more nakedly authoritarian continuation of his first. By Asawin Subatsang, Tim Dickinson and Ryan Bort. We're not going to read this whole thing, just a couple of bits here at the beginning. Donald Trump, the twice impeached former president, Gen 6 coup leader, convicted felon, adjudicated sexual abuser, and man who mismanaged the 2020 economic implosion and coronavirus disaster that killed more than 1 million people in this country, has persuaded American voters to give him another term in the White House. After a campaign marked by nativism, open bigotry, and aspiring authoritarianism, Trump triumphed over Vice President Kamala Harris, despite being denounced by several of those who worked most closely with him in his first term as a quote-unquote fascist. The 45th president will become the 47th in late January. Trump got out to an early lead on Tuesday and never looked back, securing North Carolina and Georgia before shattering the Democratic blue wall of Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. The race was called at 5:35 a.m. Eastern Time by the Associated Press after Trump earns 270 electoral college votes by winning Wisconsin. Trump declared victory to a packed crowd of jubilant supporters at the Palm Beach Convention Center, promising a golden age for the nation while surrounded by his family and closest allies. He added toward the end of his characteristically rambling speech that his win was a, quote, massive victory for democracy and freedom, and that, quote, many people have told me that God spared my life for a reason. I will govern by a simple motto: promises made, comma, promises kept, Trump said. It's fucking, oh God. Do I have sweat marks on my hat? God damn it. Man, now people are going to know I'm gross. The stakes of a Trump victory could not be higher for many of the most vulnerable people living in this country. See, his promises are to attack and hurt vulnerable people. We're going to imprison more women for having miscarriages and for having complex pregnancies. We're going to round up and deport people, human beings who are here working their butts off, trying to make something of their lives. We're only going to go after the weakest and most vulnerable types, not the billionaires, not the hypermillionaires, not the people that are actually pulling the strings of society, but the people that are the scapegoats for them, which is in service of the America's longstanding political project of sustaining a hierarchy that forbids accountability for those at the top. You're not accountable. And he gets to like skate on all those criminal convictions and those criminal cases. Like at most there might be a trials might resume after his presidency. Like that's crazy. If there even is a post presidency to this guy. I don't think he's going to survive his whole term, meaning, well, I'm just saying like a guy at his age and his health is a decent chance of not living the next 4 years because of his, that. And, well, who knows? He gets great health care. The president always does, and then J.D. Vance becomes president, which hands this country over even more to the tech feudalists of Silicon Valley, Peter Thiel and Elon Musk. It's really dark, man. So here, Trump's central campaign promise has been to embark on the largest mass deportation program in the nation's history. Like that, it's not just a paperwork thing where they just send out letters and this is sending cops into people's homes and businesses to like invade and grab people. There's a really violent process that requires mass deportation. Comma here, going back to the article. A supercharged version of a racist Eisenhower-era program called Operation Wetback. Trump has, new sentence, Trump has promised to forcibly remove millions and said that it will be a, quote, bloody story. That's great. That's wonderful. He promised blood, and he's going to keep that promise. This could even mean rounding up like political opponents. We might see arrests of like Pelosi type levels. I doubt he'll go at them directly, but it could mean clamping down on the people like activists, people who are known to them to be working towards a different political ideology. I'm not saying they're going to come after me. I'm nowhere near big enough, but this is like oppression of thought, oppression of people's abilities and willingness to speak out publicly. Like if they're going to start arresting, they're going to start doing things that are in line with the kind of society Trump aspires to create. It's really fucking dark, man. Just to finish this paragraph, he has vowed to employ local law enforcement, sheriffs, and if necessary, the armed forces. So it's fucking gross. Okay, so next one here. I have a lot of thoughts. They're a bit of a jumble today. So I'm not going to try to force them too much, but yeah, we'll just kind of get through these here. The Onion nails it. America defeats America. Writing, in a historic outcome that promised to halt the rising scourge of the United States in its tracks, America has defeated America at the ballot box, sources confirmed Wednesday. Quote, after 248 years of tense and often divisive conflict, we can finally say, as of this morning, that the nation turned out at the polls and delivered a decisive blow to the nation, said electoral analyst Kurt Howitzer, describing the results as a remarkable triumph of the democratic experiment over democracy. Quote, it's a stunning turn of events, but it really shows the power of one citizenry to come together and prevail over themselves. The message was loud and clear. We are sick and tired of our country, and we want it to end. End quote. At press time, millions of emotional Americans had reportedly gathered on the National Mall in an impromptu celebration of their resounding victory over the forces of liberty and equality. They're going to hurt so many women, man. They're going to fucking, it's so bad here. It's so bad. God. Okay. So we'll get back to some of this stuff here after we jump into yesterday. So we'll kind of go through these videos I've got. See if I can switch over easily. Okay. So I've got Majority Report's live coverage. It looked like they were having a fun time. Shout out to that crew putting together that level of show with all those, streaming out a bunch of mics, complicated technical thing to pull off. We are going to end up at a slight critique, but it's not so much like hey, I know what to do better. It's just more like they had a soundboard guy that was way too loud. That was fucking it up a lot. It turned out to be sort of funny, but it was also made it a little bit hard to watch. We'll see a little bit of that, but I like Sam Cedar. I like Emma a ton. I like Matt Leck. I like them all. The gang at Majority Report. I've been watching that show since back in the Air America days. There's certainly been a few years here and there where it's fallen off, but definitely part of my main diet. I also checked in on TYT coverage yesterday and Daily Wire. I said I got some stuff to go through. I watched a bunch of the Vanguard boys talking, men actually talking a bunch. There's so much reaction. It's way too much to take in. And I just recorded some stuff just to sort of give you a flavor. My thought was every hour I might do something, or every 2 hours, just to get a feeling for the progression of the night, because nobody knew where it was going to go. And we will see a little bit of that feeling for sure. So anyway, I feel like it's a little weird that it's too much Majority Report here, but that's fine. It is what it is. So let's start out. I'll probably jump in and interrupt here and there, but you can see we're in Da Vinci. Kind of like this way of doing it. Let's go.
Somebody else's cam on CNN. Get the Van Jones cam.
Please, God, no. All right, you want to go through, because this is garbage, whatever.
What is going on here with our... That's right. I guess that's what it... Oh,
votes at once that the city of Milwaukee had to...
All right, so let's just let's see what it is. I know we jump in with like a CNN report. They're kind of checking on different news programs and stuff. This is about 5:15-ish p.m. timeline-wise. Maybe this is a little bit earlier in their broadcast, Pacific Standard Time. Don't overthink too much about that as far as timelines go. I'm not like it's dialed in, but the ones we're going to go through the night kind of, but loosely.
Votes at...
Here we go.
Once that the city of Milwaukee had to restart the processing or counting of those absentee ballots. They say an observer saw that while the ballot tabulators were sealed, the door wasn't properly closed on them. And after going through with the bipartisan team and making sure that nothing was tampered with, the city, out of an abundance of caution, decided to restart counting all of those absentee ballots. What this means is that as we expect results from this battleground state of Wisconsin, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer. The clerk said in the past that they weren't expecting results from this city to come until after midnight Central Time.
Obviously.
So,
sorry, I'm jumping ahead. I just want to see Sam and Emma talk.
Work through. So the vote is still ongoing right now, but be prepared to wait as those results come in later tonight, guys.
So obviously,
Booster in Milwaukee. We're used to waiting for Milwaukee until the wee hours of the night.
We're going to see some of these shenanigans, particularly in urban areas in these swing states. Milwaukee County is the most populous county in the state in Wisconsin. 27% Black, 17% Latino, has an Asian American population. If the Democrats want to win the state of Wisconsin, they have to drive numbers in Milwaukee. And what do you know? Some independent observer has decided that it's time to recount the ballots because there may be some issue. This is what we're going to see with Trump. And who knows? Who knows if this was someone acting in earnest? We'll see. But this is the kind of thing that why Sam says, like, this could take 2 weeks. That's the reason.
One of the things that...
Thank you, Sam. I'll step in here and say something. There was already people burning ballot boxes on the West Coast, I think in Oregon somewhere too, maybe, I don't know how many exactly, seem to be in blue areas. As well, I don't know if we have stuff to see tonight, but as you might have seen it watching the election last night, there was bomb threats called in to a lot of Georgia, largely in blue areas. I haven't seen the exact debrief study on that, possibly from outside Russian sources. The whole Russian thing is interesting because there's a whole impulse on the left to freak out about Russiagate. The Democrats used what I thought was proven. I don't mean that their story was proven, but that there was Russian foreign interference in American election stuff via social media things. Who knows what else? I think it's understood, right? That stuff actually does happen, but the Democrats were then able to co-opt that messaging and make it about how it's their fault Hillary lost, not Hillary's fault, as a way to deflect blame from the actual people who were responsible for losing to Trump in 2016. Exactly a similar process is happening now, but it doesn't mean that there wasn't Russian disinformation efforts going on, right? Isn't that genuinely true? I'm not going to sit here and act like I've done all the research on it, but it wasn't made up completely. It was misused. It was intentionally used as to create a truth obscuring firewall, and then that becomes what we would refer to as Russiagate, as if to dismiss anything. But it seems to me that the effect of Russia freaking out about Russiagate over and over and over and over for years and years since 2016 creates this sense that there can be no bad actors coming out of Russia. right? And so like it's easier to dismiss if they were actually involved in some of the shenanigans. I like that word that were going on yesterday. Now, again, I haven't seen any. I'm not saying I haven't seen any. I haven't looked for the confirmations about it. I'm just reacting to stuff that I had seen, and I also understand that like Trump genuinely wants to, I think, produce a society similar to Russia. I think there's a fondness within the right of America towards Russia for its conservative, its model as a fake democracy dictatorship that operates on heavy-handed oppression of political opponents using violence and a facade of democracy at all whenever they do elections, and as well as culturally imposed hyper-conservatism related to the Russian Orthodox Church that is like their evangelical base, so to speak. I'm sure that my analysis there is very surface level. Russia feels like one of those things that I really want to learn more about. I've only watched a few YouTube videos, like history and stuff like that, and it's fascinating stuff. History of the Bolshevik Revolution and shit like that. So I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm some expert on it. I'm just saying that I think that and the argument that like, well, America meddles in elections as a response to the truth that Russia tries to meddle in elections. All that's bad. Same, just as bad. Not okay too. Just as also not okay. I don't want anybody meddling in our elections. The only person I want meddling in my election is me and my neighbors. Just vote, one person. I think if you get like $5 million, you should lose your vote. And I think homeless people should each get 1,000 votes. The less the society is doing for you, the more power you should be allowed when it comes to election time. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen, but anyway, that's just some random thoughts about that. All right, let's turn it back over to Sam, see what he's got.
Is dangerous a little bit about this is, if you'll recall, in 2000, some of you may be too young to recall this on some level, but in 2000, when the Supreme Court intervened in the Bush v. Gore race, one of the reason why the Supreme Court told Florida to stop counting ballots was that it would prejudice prejudiced view that George W. Bush had won Florida. So the foregone conclusion that Bush won Florida, which incidentally it was called by his cousin who worked at Fox News at the time. Was it his brother-in-law? Yes. I always say cousin. Are you sure it was his brother-in-law? Okay.
But we know what
Nevertheless,
was Jeb Bush was.
Jeb Bush was his brother.
Yeah.
And he.
Catherine Harris was the Secretary of State. I don't know about the brother-in-law brother thing that they're talking about, but the family of the guy calling the election, the guy's brother, George W. Bush's brother, Jeb, was the governor. The Secretary of State, Catherine Harris, who is a character that was around during the George Bush years, especially around 2000, she, responsible for certifying elections and shit, was the head of the George Bush reelection campaign in Florida. So, like, that election was genuinely stolen. We don't live in a democracy here.
He was co-chair.
A fucking right-wing hellhole is what this society is. That's what that's honestly what the fuck. Saying, here I go, I'm getting go. What the Harris administration's, their slogan should have been, instead of joy, they should have called it right-wing hellhole. Fucking right-wing hellhole. Vote Kamala. We're going to make it a fucking right-wing hellhole. What's our proof? We're doing a genocide, and Dick Cheney likes me.
But it was a guy named Ellis. Still content it was his cousin, but there's some dispute about that. Nevertheless, the idea that there's a presumptive winner is absurd, because there's no such thing as a presumptive winner of a state. You can have a presumptive nominee of a party because there's only so many votes available that are left, and they've achieved enough primary votes that they would win. But there's no such thing as a presumptive winner of the presidency until all the votes are.
See, that's my hand moving that mouse around in there. Yeah, like I get what he's the like had Gore been the presumptive winner instead of Bush, who is ideologically aligned with the Supreme Court, would they have allowed to stop the voting to protect a Gore victory? No, they did it because they knew the outcome meant that George Bush becomes president. I was even anticipating somehow watching this whole thing devolve in 2024 towards the Supreme Court doing something similar with the way that they would have been buddies for, throwing in. Trump won by such a margin, it seems, even though I do think there's good reasons to suspect why a lot of voter suppression is invisible. Just purging people off rolls. I think it was Georgia where they didn't send out absentee ballots or mail-in ballots or something. Again, not totally sure, but until the day before the election, and you're supposed to have them returned. It's insane. A lot of that stuff is invisible. There's a lot of ways people get the long lines, the standing in line for hours and hours and hours. That's just crazy. Like, I think the governor of a state should have to go to prison if it takes a person longer than 2 hours to vote. I mean, you could say like 20 minutes or something, but like, what the fuck? I mean, they do that on purpose. They know that this stuff works. From what I've seen, though, it seems like the margin, and there's enough people that are going to look into it to look for the ways that the, numbers might have been messed with. And it really only matters when it's really close, unfortunately. So there probably was some of that, but it still seems like, the story is that the Democratic voters didn't show up in enough numbers as comparatively to the Biden election. We're not going to go into all the details about numbers and stuff. All right, so that was the majority report around 5:15 something or something, and then I jumped over to TYT just see what the hell they're talking about. Scrubbing. Let's see. Yeah, this is a good enough spot. Let's see.
And then Democrats would have to be worried about appeasing Arab and Muslim American voters and maybe not killing their family members and funding that their slaughter, etc. And maybe that happens, but usually what happens with establishment Democrats is they'll get angry at Arab voters and Muslim voters, and then they'll say, it was your.
Oh, I just did this. I wanted to see. So 30,000 watching TYT. That's why I scrolled down. And then I think majority report was running around 24,000 for, I wasn't looking super close. So this number goes up and down over the overnight.
Fault. And you made us have Trump. That's it. We're not doing anything for you. Well, then you're going to lose the next one and the next one and the next one. But establishment Democrats never learn that lesson, especially when they lose. Their go-to move is blaming the voters.
But
and we're sick of it.
If Kamala wins, though, there will be a lesson. And that lesson is we can just ignore the progressives. They're going to vote for us anyway. And who cares about the Muslim American and Arab American votes in regard to, Gaza and Israel and all of that. We can win without them by appealing to moderates or even some of the moderate conservatives.
Well,
moderate conservatives.
Somebody might one day learn a lesson because Donald Trump could have picked up those votes if he said ceasefire, if he said, I won't send weapons anymore because I'm the anti-war candidate. He would have picked up a lot of those votes.
Yeah.
And instead what he said is, Israel should bomb Iran right away and they should bomb their nuclear facilities, they should bomb them more, and I'm gonna let them run wild and I'm gonna let them finish the Palestinians. And he started using Palestinian as an insult. Mm-hmm. And Netanyahu is definitely, and Ben-Gvir and Smotrich are rooting for Trump. So both sides are awful on this. And both sides said, I'd rather have the donors than win the state of Michigan and maybe win the entire election. You know what, in a sense, even more so for Trump. Because if Trump wins Michigan, he definitely wins the election. And he's like, no, Miriam Adelson gave me 90 million, that person gave me that other person gave me this. And no matter what, I'm anti-war my ass, drain the swamp my ass. If a donor says something, I do it. Because Donald Trump is obsessed with money.
I think purely hypothetically.
We're all fucking upset. I mean, yes, he is. It's a I mean, my whole resentment with this society is that we're required to be obsessed with money. That's the first fucking cult, which is why money is the final boss of our society that we have to destroy in order to have any hope for humanity.
Technically, it makes sense. And generally, he has been able to get away with taking whatever position he wants, even if it goes against prior conservative orthodoxy. Like he can change all Republicans' views.
Yeah, they get dragged any which way that he wants them to. All right, fine. You know, they had some shit to say. I could probably comment. So then we jump over back to Majority Report. I think this is where John from San Antonio comes in. If you're not familiar, John from San Antonio is a longtime caller who's like a data nerd guy who has been kind of worked his awkward way into everybody's heart. He's a nice man. He goes on the letter hack, and they have a fun time talking about that. He does a lot of stats and polling and stuff. So he's kind of a beloved figure within the Majority Report cast of miscreants.
They're counted.
So I'm just jumping ahead here. You can see I'm just trying to get. Oh yeah, all right. So here's H. John Benjamin doing a bit with Sam Cedar.
Thank you.
All right, John.
Thank you very much for having me.
So he's pretending to be John from San Antonio.
Came all the way from San Antonio. That's quite a flight. Yeah.
So
necessarily.
let me.
I find H. John Benjamin's obviously a talented guy. He's very famous. He does the voices of Bob's Burgers, and he's like a super successful comedian, comedy guy. I would be thrilled to work on anything with him at some point and someday. But I do find when he calls up Sam, because they're like old buddies, they always do this kind of, and I get it though, because I have comedian friends that we just kind of, you sort of have a unique kind of relationship with your comedian pals, and they just go on and they're being funny to each other, but I often find it kind of goes on for too long, and I'm just like, guys, get to the fucking.
Oh my.
I want to hear what H. John Benjamin has to say. Like, this is a side rant, and this is sort of, I don't know, but like, I like my favorite commentator on most topics is comedians who are being serious. And I'm a comedian guy. I don't even know if I could call myself that, but it covers for why I'm so weird. It's one of the few things you could do with still being a weirdo. But like trying to be funny, I try to be funny. I try to say shit I think is funny. I'm doing a solo podcast. It's really awkward and cringy when I try to be funny. I'm sure maybe it even works a little bit here and there, but I also get serious, and I have serious thoughts and serious things to say. And so I love when funny people have serious conversations. I get so fucking annoyed. I'm going on too long about this. When comedians indulge the funny bit more than the serious part. It's just a pattern I notice that I often find annoying. So hire me, H. John Benjamin.
God, and I totally forgot to tell you all that I played pickleball for the first time.
In a live room, you have a whole different chemical, social chemical reaction going on. It's far more complicated. If you're not familiar with live performance spaces, you might not really realize that, which I am.
If I could just ask you.
Brooklyn Park.
Spent so much fucking time sitting in goddamn comedy rooms, open mics, and comedy clubs.
It's
John,
totally free, and
let's just talk about.
Not the most athletic person.
Actually, I'm going to jump ahead of here. Oh yeah, this is where John comes out. Look at him back there. There's the real Jay from San Antonio.
Oh!
Well, wait.
Ladies and gentlemen, the real John from San Antonio. Hey, yeah.
There's Sam taking allowance with his friend. You didn't do this to someone you don't know. Yank their mask off like this. So clearly they're friends. But he wants H. John Benjamin to get his credit for being there. If a stranger did that to me, I'd be pretty annoyed. But if a comedy buddy, if we were doing a bit, I'd be like, that's my friend. It's okay. No worries.
Fake John from San Antonio, otherwise known as John Benjamin, ladies and gentlemen. Go. Get away. Go.
It's very exciting for John from San Antonio. He's such a quiet, unassuming type of guy to have H. John Benjamin impersonating him. That's pretty funny.
We got the real deal here, ladies and gentlemen. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
It's like 5:30-ish p.m., right? So we're moving on in the night, but still no one's really catching the whiff yet that the toxic event, that's not the right way to put it. No one's catching the whiff that the stink monster is actually about to crawl out of the sewer.
It's John from San Antonio.
So John, I want to get to, we left a cliffhanger today on the show. I asked you your predictions for the presidency and the House and the Senate. But first, let me ask you about Florida. Are you surprised that they called it this early or no?
A little bit surprised, yeah, sure. Yeah, a little bit.
Just
John's mic training. Not a knock on John, but like if you're not used to speaking into a mic, it takes a little bit of practice. You kind of got to get used to having it closer to your mouth. Maybe you get used to holding it yourself. That's actually kind of fun. Comedians, obviously, I would say practice more than most other people as far as that goes. Maybe almost as much as preachers. They might have lapels or different type of mics. But yeah, mic technique is not necessarily something everybody understands, particularly the more softer spoken types, like our friend John from San Antonio.
speak into, just put the mic down just a little bit right there.
Yeah, a little bit disappointing. I mean, was expecting about a 6 to 7 point win. So yeah, a little bit.
Should we be concerned at this point? Or is Florida, are red states, and there's no accounting for that?
Well, I think we're going to see red mirages we're already seeing them in North Carolina and in Georgia because, that's the way it is. Rural voters don't have to wait in lines. Urban voters work, and when they vote, they wait in long lines, and so you get their results in last. And so actually in the next few hours, we're probably going to see some pretty good results.
I mean, that's the whole strategy that the GOP was running with, was that the urban votes take longer to come in. They take longer to count. They've used a bunch of bullshit, voter suppression stuff to make it so that the ballot boxes are it's harder to count them, or so that there's fewer polling places, that the locations change, just to make everything as hard as it can. They want to make it like, if you have to cheat to win, it's not a democracy. Why can't we just do a system where everybody's vote works the same? It's going to cost us money to do it well. The way that we conduct elections are the machinery of the election day itself is one of the institutions that favors the boss class, that favors the ruling class, that favors the conservative underpinnings of the entire society. You have a job, you got to work, and then go stand in line for 3 hours to vote. It's absolutely insane. I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with it. The Tuesday voting is because it connected to the way the agrarian economies functioned in terms of local communities in the 1800s. It's insane. It's just, but the reason we keep it this way is because bosses can take time off whenever they want. Workers can't. And a weekday vote on Tuesday, and then they try to rush the count so that they could claim victory the night of. Unfortunately, Harris wasn't able to get enough people to show up to vote for her, so the Republicans had prepared for all this election shenanigans, all these court challenges, all this bullshit. They didn't have to do any of that. It spared them having to do that, but also us having to go through it, which I guess is one of the few silver linings, I suppose, but that's not. I call that like a sharpened silver lining, poisoned silver lining. Yeah, that's the end of that.
For Trump and for Republicans.
Oh.
Sorry to say that.
Rick Scott won.
So Rick Scott won governor of Florida really quickly. And so when this sort of thing is coming through, you're getting all this data flowing in through the various reporting agencies and news outfits and shit, different states, and you're looking for signals. If Florida had gone a little bit purple, even though the Republicans still won, it would be a sign that turnout was up for Kamala. So in these red states, these East Coast red states that report early, it becomes valuable information just to try to tease out anything coming along the pike, because that's what they're doing this whole night. Not just Majority Report, I mean everybody. So like the early signs though were like, Florida was a no-brainer hard red for Trump. So the first sign out the gate was kind of like, oh, well, that's Florida. They're just super going to be red no matter what. And unfortunately, though, it actually indicated one of the many signals that the turnout wasn't going to be great for the Democrats. Real sad.
Yeah.
All right. Not surprising, the Florida Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Emma commenting. So this is a new clip here. Or should I move it over? Shouldn't have done that. Let's just slide over all that.
Come on. Right, like, you know, yeah. I mean, right, like, you know, when I do the you know, the letter hack shows,
Yeah, they love teasing the letter hack. I was on the letter hack. Go check it out. Talking about the TYT project.
Shameless.
Come on.
Shameless.
Come on, Matt is here tonight. Just had a nice dinner with him. He's a good guy.
Where is he? Where's Matt?
Yeah, stand up, Matt.
He's in the bathroom. Where is he? Matt, are you there?
Yeah.
All right, letter hack gets a good shout out.
On the front there, you can
Clap. He does a good, I really like Matt Strackbine. I want to do more stuff. Let's see.
He is the proprietor of a very popular YouTube channel who will be here tonight.
So now we're introducing R.M. Brown. I don't watch a ton of R.M. Brown stuff. I don't have a real strongly formed opinion. A lot of shows talk about him. I mean, or a lot of shows. I mean, I hear him referenced. Majority Report's obviously friendly with him, but I've heard his people come up. He's a comedian. He seems like a really funny guy.
As our, wait, who did he say he wanted to be? I can't remember now. Ladies and gentlemen, R.M. Brown.
Skipping ahead here.
We're going to play you off. Do you have any other final comments before we bring you back a little later in the evening?
Yeah, that race, that second district, that's actually about plus 20 now.
Which race?
The Neil Dunn race, Florida second district. So that's the, you know, when you even in a 50% in, it was probably all of Tallahassee that came in first. It's kind of a reverse of a red mirage.
So what you're saying, until you see 85, 90% in, just calm down.
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, it's when you're a candidate, you want to win. I mean, you kind of get excited. You get a rush of adrenaline.
Yeah, but that doesn't get you more
Adrenaline junkie, that guy.
votes after the polls have closed.
But I mean, it makes you feel good, right? I mean,
I mean, for a brief period of time, and then you just you crash.
yeah, okay. I mean, this is to be expected, but I mean, you know, it was nice. Usually, if it's like 10%, 15%, yeah, I won't mention it. But when it gets to 50%, okay, that's like.
All right.
Okay.
There we go.
All right, well, John. Very well
you want
done.
to play
Thank
him
you
off
very
with a
much.
couple of? What do you got for us, R.M. Brown?
So R.M. Brown, I think, was doing the audio all night. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but it was way too hot. It was coming off way like the mix was goofy. And I've been in these live situations with TYT stuff, with doing stand-up comedy shows, working for Jimmy Dore. It's really easy to like miss that. I almost wanted to like send them DMs on Twitter being like, yo, your mix is fucked up. It's like bad. Like I think we'll see it a little bit here. So if it gets super loud here, I'm not gonna blow out I'll be careful about my export, you know, with my own sound meters there going too hard on the red, but this might be uncomfortable.
With Paul Schaefer.
Be my mommy, Mamala. Shrek is Hezbollah. Shrek is Hezbollah.
So he I guess R.M. Brown does all these drops with sound or voices and quips from Majority Report.
You need a tongue bath, and I've been in the toilet stall because you guys are grifters.
You're about to be value-tained.
The authoritarians are coming for you. They want your asshole to be stimulated. You need a tongue bath, and I'm your guy. Haitians are eating cats and dogs. Whoa. Haitians are eating cats and dogs.
Hey, unbelievable.
Why did
All
I
right,
say
let's listen
that
to
stuff?
John King for a second.
All right, so he does playful little gags and stuff. So the next one is here. We're now into about 24, 7, yeah. So 5. Again, still kind of around the 524. So I think this is very close to that. Yeah, actually, this is just about following it up.
Add that up.
So now I'm going to get some CNN stuff from John King on CNN. Not deep into the night still in the 5 to 6 p.m. PST.
So we won't even bother with the comparison. Then you just pop down to Delaware County.
Same issue, about 15% of the vote in. So we can take a look here. I was just here the other day in Delaware County, and you see it's overwhelmingly Democratic, but you do see some pockets of Trump support. This is one of the places it's a key test. He's not going to win Delaware County. Can he improve his standing in the suburbs just a little bit? That's Donald Trump's big challenge. Improve your standing in the suburbs just a little bit. 15%. He's at 24% right now. If you go back 4 years ago, he was at 36%. So if he stays where he is, he's in trouble in Pennsylvania. But
I just want to point this out. So this is going to be, I think, the most important thing to watch is suburban districts and even ex-urban districts that have a mix of suburban and rural voters. You know, for better for worse, the Harris campaign has been targeting suburban voters, people who are sick of Trump.
The fans of Dick Cheney, people who vote the way the Cheneys vote.
For his rudeness, for his lack of respectability, for his criminality. That's basically for affluent suburbanites in many ways, and upper middle class to middle class people. So Bucks County is a really important county to watch in that regard, but you also have Montgomery County, which is the most populous Philadelphia suburban county that we should be watching out for. Biden ended up getting 40,000 more votes there than Hillary Clinton did in 2016, so that was really key for him winning the state. Allegheny County, as I mentioned as well. And then Erie County is something, I've been there actually, I went to a Trump rally there, that's like, it's in the northwest part of Pennsylvania.
She started her career on TYT, if you don't know, as like a contributor, remote kind of stuff. And she went to a lot of like in-person interviews. She used to go to interview people at Trump rallies in 2016, 2017. I don't know the whole time, but she's been on the ground a bunch of political stuff. So that's worth pointing out because it informs her analysis.
That went for Obama in both times that he ran, but Trump in 2016 and back to Biden in 2020. So that's a bellwether county for the most part. So if we're watching how Erie goes, there's a good chance that that's how the rest of the state is going to go.
I'm looking at some House races, the ones to watch. There's not a lot of votes in.
All right. So early in the night, we're still not yet quite at the point where things are falling apart until we get to here. All right. So now there's a bunch of Daily Wire stuff we're going to look at. They had a good night. Gonna see the progression. This is sort of randomized. Anna Kasparian was a guest on for a quick remote hit with Daily Wire earlier in the afternoon. We're gonna look at that a little bit. I'm not gonna break it all down super detailed or something, but then I just kind of jump around on their live stream. So we have a few different points here to kind of get into. Yeah, I'll have reactions and stuff. I don't know. I'm starting to just feel frustrated by this podcast as well as everything in the entire world. So, here's the opening chunk. This is where they introduce Anna as a guest.
All right, welcome back, everyone. It is now after 5 o'clock Eastern time. That means the polls will.
I think this would have been around 2 o'clock Pacific.
Be closing in a number of states in just a very short time. And it also means that we're less than 1 hour away from the Daily Wire's big election night show starring Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles, Andrew Klavan, and of course, Jeremy Boring.
No DEI detectable among that bunch.
And you don't want to miss all the excitement we have for you tonight, including visits from Megyn Kelly, my fellow Megan, Clay Travis, Jordan Peterson, and so many more. And that's just 1 hour away from now at 6 p.m. Eastern.
But first, we are joined by, and I'll go ahead and say.
So before Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson and Matt Walsh, we got a big guest here.
I'm not ashamed to say it. My favorite liberal commentator in the country, the Young Turks, Anna Kasparian. Anna, we interviewed you at the Republican National Convention when Joe Biden was still the nominee. It feels like 3 years ago. You said at the time you would not vote for him. So I'm interested, has your opinion shifted now that Kamala Harris is on the ticket?
I did not vote for president. I wrote in a candidate. I live in California, so I have the ability of basically voicing my discontent through this one act. But, you know, I just think that Kamala Harris has run a campaign that's very similar in regard to policies that Joe Biden has championed that I don't necessarily agree with. But at the same time, I'm also not the kind of person who feels like her best interests are represented by Donald Trump. I've instead kind of delved into the local races that have more of an impact on my day-to-day life, but that's where I'm at.
So Anna, I remember when we were at the
No vote shaming here. I don't think it's fair to call that out. It's fine. I do think though that when you are you've been making a public, a public, I don't want to say show because I don't think it's inauthentic, but you've been public about your ideological shift and starting a Substack called Unaligned, being described as leaving the left. I don't know if she's ever precisely said that herself, just to be super fair, but people on interviews she does say that you've left the left. Why have so many Democrats left the left? She seems to be embodying someone who's leaving the left, who's gone through this. And she describes this shift of hers on the Blocked and Reported podcast with Jesse Singal. It's a very interesting listen. Just search for her name in that show if you want. Relating to a bunch of stories she claims to have gotten wrong, and she misinformed her viewers and her regrets about that. Yet I've yet to find any bit of her talking about the misinformation she helped Cenk spread when they were doing the union busting. That's what my movie Tell the Truth, Cenk, is about. Look in the description. There's tons of links to the Substack articles and to the documentary and all that stuff. If you're familiar with me, you're probably already dialed in on that a little bit. But they smeared their own workers publicly with a story that was completely untrue, that they didn't fact check, related to how the union started at the Young Turks. And I really hope that eventually Anna includes that in her apology tour for stories that she got wrong and for ways that she misled her audience. She overtly talks about how much she regrets not giving her audience the truth and other, she seems to be doing a correction of sorts, like a correction project of sorts, including making sure that the audience understands Kyle Rittenhouse and police stats and crime stories and Venezuela gangs and things the kind of stories that might get you booked on election day at the Daily Wire, where you can tell the audience that, yes, you're the liberal commentator, but guess what? You're not one that supports the person they don't want to win. Would they have had her on here? Like some degree, some percentage of their audience is going to be maybe slightly left of where they are, right? Not every audience is a distribution of a kind. And so like having someone from the opposition who you're friendly with come on your show to say, well, it goes against my principles to vote for Kamala Harris, that's an awfully useful thing. There's no way they would have her on here to just get into battle over why they're wrong about so much of their bullshit. It's more so that she can share her perspective on the stuff that they sort of agree on. And they'll make small little kind of, and there are substantial differences, I would probably suggest, in terms of Gaza. I think Anna probably has a future ahead of herself that's probably very lucrative, but her Gaza positioning might make that difficult. But it is a useful person to be a well-known, prominent, the executive producer of the Home of Progressives, who comes onto the Daily Wire show the day of an election to validate why it's okay to not vote for Kamala Harris. It's 2:00 in the afternoon, California time, 5:00 in the afternoon, Pacific, or East Coast time. Is it really much of a difference to affect people's voting that day? Probably not. But this is a useful detail. This is a very affirming thing to them to even the liberal Anna Kasparian won't vote for the monster Kamala Harris, as she proves here. And she is right to her reasons for not wanting to. I'm not trying to call her out for that. I'm just saying that it's appearing on the Ben Shapiro network on the Daily Wire in order to deliver that message as the first thing that they ask you to seems to be serving a role. And maybe she's aware of that. Maybe she's not. Maybe it's unfair for me to even suggest that there's a role being played there.
The RNC, you really strenuously encouraged your party, encouraged the Democrats to actually have a primary and not just to crown Kamala Harris. That didn't happen. How many are there left?
So then I skip ahead. I agree. We should have had a primary. Absolutely. The Democrats are an anti-democratic institution. They anointed Biden over Bernie in 2020, that whole thing. They also didn't have a primary this time. They pulled a bunch of bullshit with the primaries that they did have relating to Biden. It was this foregone conclusion. We need to primary the fuck out of Well, there is no Democratic incumbent now, is there? But like we need to get progressives running hard for president for 2028. Maybe it doesn't happen in 2024 or 25, but that's something that's got to get picked up really fast. Operating on the assumption that there will be an election. There will be a fake election. I don't know. I doubt Trump will outright cancel it, although this is the dumbest country in the history of countries, and there's all kinds of reasons why Trump could probably just do that and get away with it at this point. So they might just straight up cancel the election. But if anything, the autocracy, that takes its form as a dictator. It takes the form of rigged elections and fake elections and controlling the media and the reporting and everything else. I could see Trump doing that. That's what I would put my money on currently. So I just jump ahead here. We go see what this guy in the red shirt is talking about.
Get it out of here. I'm either going to be I'm going to be at Kid Rock's honky tonk tonight.
So now we've got a grouping here. We got Matt Walsh, Michael. We're going to go left to right. Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles, some guy, Ben Shapiro, red shirt guy or red coat guy. I'm not too sure. And then Jordan Peterson, the eternally daft Arkham's psychiatrist, Jordan Peterson.
So it's going to be one of the most amazing nights ever, and I'm going to be on the stage like Donald Trump has won, and now Kid Rock, and I'm going to be like, this is one of the great nights of my life. Or
that's cool. Kid Rock would be fun. Wouldn't it be exciting to be with Kid Rock and Hulk Hogan? Just a bunch of doesn't that sound like a treat? So this guy must be some kind of presenter of some sort. He's talking about maybe being on stage introducing people.
I'm going to be like the fan who paints his face, and then the camera finds him when the team is lost by like 3 touchdowns.
Like the Bears fan at the very end of that game.
Yeah, you're a grown man who painted his face, and you're like, I've just got to question a lot of my life.
Are you optimistic, though? How are you feeling?
Still, no one has a sense that things are breaking towards the Republicans real big right now, other than like an early signaling out of.
I am optimistic. The more we get into the votes coming in, the less optimistic I am. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
I wanted. We've only had one race in the 21st century where I think both sides said, you know what, I agree with the outcome. 2008, at least Barack Obama won comfortably. And it feels to me like we're going to be in another one of these, hey, if we had made that field goal, man, we would have won. If we miss a field goal, and it feels like that's basically every race in the 21st century. So I was hoping.
Well, the Republicans have benefited from the fucking Electoral College. George Bush lost the popular vote in 2000. He won it in 2004, which I would argue is also a reason like he wouldn't have been in that position had he not stolen it in 2000. Trump lost the popular vote, so twice this last night was like the second time in like 30 something years that a Republican president actually won the popular vote. It's horrifying that the Electoral College has pulled through to force, as well as the corrupt Supreme Court. But George W. Bush's theft, along with Dick Cheney, as well as the Trump becoming president in 2016, he lost by like 7 million votes to Hillary.
And I still do have some
3 million. Sorry, I'm not sure. I think Biden beat him by 7 something.
Hope that Trump might have really kind of punched through. And it's all anecdote, but I bet you guys are similar. I know people who didn't vote Trump in 16, 20, and are voting Trump in 24. Like, I know a lot of those people.
The hardest part for people like me, since I don't trust.
What's the hardest part for people like Ben? Fighting off the women at Home Depot? Just watching you put that board in the bag?
Feelings are bad.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, feelings are bad. I'm starting over.
The hardest part for people like me, since I don't trust feelings. Feelings are bad.
Yes. And it's all anecdotal.
Feelings are bad. Don't trust your feelings. Feelings are bad. Only use statistics and honest logic, but also base it all on completely on your feelings completely and entirely be completely biased based on your own feelings.
That's the problem.
Yes.
I can't, I'll get high like with the anecdotal evidence. I'll be walking around somewhere and somebody who I'd never expect will come out of the woodwork and be like, I'm totally voting for Trump and I'm really excited about it. And I'm like, remember, that's anecdotal evidence and it doesn't mean anything.
But I do not know a single person who voted Trump, Kamala. And so that to me feels like if I had to go to my gut, it is that Trump is going to win by the skin of his teeth because enough people have seen that he isn't Hitler and have been willing to make a shift since the last 2 elections.
Well,
His vice president called him Hitler.
Also, Cabot.
He said he wants Hitler's generals. But yes, he's not literally.
Phillips is here.
I am. They tried to get Black Jeremy, and they said, we'll get...
Sorry, let's get at this guy's name, though. And Ben Shapiro turns. He does some hosting here.
Well, also, Cabot Phillips is here.
I am. They tried to get Black Jeremy, and they said, we'll get slightly younger white guy Jeremy.
Yeah, exactly. Jeremy has grown taller, and his beard is slightly fuller, and he's de-aged, actually. So, Cabot, you're usually the informational guy. Bring me information. I need data.
Yeah, well, one thing...
Don't do any feelings. We only need data. There's no feelings allowed. Feelings are bad.
that I was thinking of when Megan was talking about the female vote is the fact that we can tend to think of both genders as kind of monoliths. But looking back at the 2022 midterm exit polls, Democrats obviously dominated with women in the aggregate. But when you looked at their performance with married women, in the 2022 exit polls, married women went for Republicans by 14 points. It was unmarried women who they picked up by a 37-point.
All right, so I was looking around for spots with Jordan Peterson here, and then I found an ad. Well, look what Ben's holding there. Look at that thing. Boy, if you really didn't see the bottom of it, you might make some assumptions. So we're going to start over here where Ben breaks in with an ad. He's gonna sell us this item, this cylindrical, smooth-bodied, rocket-shaped, shiny gold object that he's holding that is about the size of a girthy grip.
Okay, I'm going to do something fun tonight just for folks watching us over at Daily Wire. I have right here this extreme...
Watch him pick it up.
Us over at Daily Wire. I have right...
He puts a little... You can tell he puts a little... It does seem to be heavy. Like it is, I think, genuinely a weighted object.
I have right here this extremely heavy gold-plated truth bomb from Birch Gold. I'm going to sign...
Gold-plated truth bomb.
In this thing right now, which makes it worth like 8 times as much as actual gold.
I bought it. What if I had it right here? So Ben Shapiro signs the golden dildo that he said.
Has now been signed.
Sorry, did I say that? I meant to say golden truth bomb.
We're going to give this away at dailywire.com. So you have to go to dailywire.com/win and enter for this autographed golden truth bomb. Sure, it's not $1 million from Elon Musk.
So it's a bomb. It's not what you think. It's a bomb. They're selling truth bombs. None of these feelings. They're going to deliver the truth in the form of a gold-plated explosive that is dropped from the skies.
It's even better. For a second entry, go to birchgold.com/Ben. Sign up for a free info kit on investing in gold.
Did you want us all to sign that or just you?
Get a free info kit on investing in gold.
Birchgold.com/Ben. Sign up for a free info kit on investing in gold.
Did you want us all to sign that or just you?
I don't know. I feel like it degrades the quality. It's not well.
Want to welcome our good friend Jordan Peterson.
Oh, there it is. Jordan. Oh, hello there. It's me, Jordan Peterson.
Jordan, really appreciate you being with us tonight. I
don't do a lot of Jordan Peterson deconstructions here on the channel. I feel like I could probably get lost in that a little bit. I find him kind of, obviously he's sort of a fascinating figure. His influence over the genital sphere is strong and mighty. This pretense that these guys are just like these rational actors not operating. They operate off data and facts and logic. There's all this big mirage to mask the sense that they're just these insecure loser weirdos that want to control women because mediocrity is not a burden in a race supremacy.
Been playing a much more political.
They're defensive about upholding the strictures of the race supremacy of which they benefit so much because it lowers the standards for which they can achieve wealth, riches, fortune. They don't have to compete against everybody. They only have to compete against other mediocre white guys. And even then, it's generally a cooperative project if they all agree that women need to know their fucking place. Oh my God, there's an Asian woman in Star Wars. Everybody gang up on them. Oh no.
Political role over the last 4 years than you've played, I think, previously. And
this is Jeremy Boring talking. I think he's like a bigwig at Daily Wire. He starred in the movie Lady Ballers. He plays the guy who is worried about his small penis.
You even went so far as to endorse not only Trump, but all the people around Trump. What's been the reception to you making this move? And in particular, what's been the reception to your endorsement video?
Well, I did have people in the academy in particular write me and try to dissuade me.
He means Arkham. Well, some of my colleagues in the Arkham academic department, we have a lot of long, vainglorious conversation.
From that particular stance. which I actually found quite surprising because some of the people who wrote me have had no shortage of trouble with the leftist radicals in the universities, and yet
people tell me all the time the leftist radicals causing all kinds of issues. They say women deserve control over their own bodies. This is an outrage. It's not just a historical outrage, but it beckons of them. I'm trying to use big words. I do that a lot too. I gotta admit, I tend to be a fucking phony with my big words.
that wasn't enough to convince them that maybe there's some rot on the Democrat side. And there certainly is, and I've spoken to many Democrats in the last 6 years, like serious conversations. I suppose the most striking one to begin with was really with Robert F. Kennedy himself.
Oh, the Democrat Robert F. Kennedy, the guy who is who's endorsed. Why am I doing a joke? Yeah, so he says he's talked to a lot of Democrats, including Robert F. Kennedy, the hyper wealthy, privileged scion, fucking anti-science, anti-vaxxed crank conspiracy theorist who promises to play a major role in accelerating the destruction of the administrative state under Donald Trump. That's the Democrat Jordan Peterson talked to. What?
When I first interviewed him, that's the interview YouTube took down in an act of election interference.
Oh, we're such babies. We're such victims. We've got the entirety of the global economic apparatus supporting the institutionalization, and that's not the right use of that word, and supporting the institutional deification of conservative ideology. And a video got taken down on YouTube. Victim. I'm a poor victim because I want to marry a woman and I don't want to do my own laundry.
I asked him the same question I always ask Democrats.
What's that?
And that was, when does the left go too far? And his response was,
well, actually, we went too far when we pick up the bin.
I'm not running that kind of divisive campaign. And I thought, not yet. Seriously. And then I interviewed him.
So used to people listening to him, too. He's just so used to saying stupid shit and expecting people to go.
Again, month and a half ago, and I asked him the same question, and all he did was answer it for the whole hour and a half. And that's really all he's been doing, even on the campaign trail. I saw him most recently at a Trump campaign rally in Phoenix, and he spent the whole time, and so did Nicole Shanahan, talking about when the left goes too far, which is pretty much all the time. And so...
Or the left only goes too far. There's nothing that's ever been appropriate on the left. What if you just give us something? Just give us something. Crunchwrap Supremes. Lefties made that up. I have no idea. Probably not. I don't know. Maybe the left has come up with such notions as everybody deserves dignity, that work shouldn't be this fucking nightmare of all the time. You've gone too far. There he goes again.
Well, that's made itself manifest in the university.
Great. Now the women can get bank accounts without their husband's approval. This is just a tragedy for all men of good faith.
Universities, that's for sure. But people are still suffering from the delusion that the Democrat center can hold against the progressives. And I just don't think that's true. I don't see any evidence for it. And
what the fuck are you talking about? That's their entire purpose. Their number one, like, the Democrat center is the whole thing that they do is firewall progressives and lefties and not let them into any power, fight them when they become candidates. And if they do get over the wall, such as AOC, then incorporate them into your project. I'm not saying, I think AOC is going to show herself. I still think she's a positive overall. I don't think we need to waste our time burning down the people. We should hold her to accountability. And she pisses off a lot of lefties, and she absolutely should. Her support of Joe Biden, her buddying up to him, really fucking rubbed me the wrong way this year. I think she's making a ton of compromises. That process could continue, and you could force me to eat my words at some point. I think there's better ways to spend your energy than just like being rageful about AOC. But I'm saying, like, even in that sense, the people who do get into the thing never amass any kind of amount of enough to be even a small enough coalition to sort of move the needle much, particularly with the leftist infighting. The lefties infighting in combination with the Democratic Party's very capable ability, very determined function of preventing lefties from gaining power is absolutely probably the greatest asset that the Republican Party has. These guys should just be praising the Democrats for being the feckless, shit ass party. Chuck Schumer fucking saying that, for every working class voter we lose, we'll gain 2 in the suburbs. They're just trying to appeal to Republican voters, to Republican leaning voters, because that's the only type of voter that they can justify to their masters, to their donors. And then they lose, and guess who still stays in power? The industrialists and the titans of industry and the people that are committed to capitalism. And then, but there are meaningful differences on the left and the right in terms of lots of cultural issues, and especially on women's rights. Huge difference and very serious. I could go on, but yeah, oh God, this guy.
Having said that, I also think that, and I've talked to most of them, the people who have become attracted to Trump and who are now campaigning with him are remarkable people.
Yeah.
If I was an American, I would vote for Trump just because of Musk.
Oh
right, because, if he'll start a Department of Governmental Efficiency, well, seriously, if he'd actually be willing to do that, it's like, okay, that's good. And Robert F. Kennedy is doing a great job of alerting people to the fact that everyone's fat and stupid and diabetic. It's like, this is really bad. It's really, really, really bad. And so that's enough as far as I'm concerned. Terrible rot on the Democrat side with regard to the radical leftists. And that's inexcusable. The
It's inexcusable to have the rot on the
issue alone for me is...
Did you say the trans issue? Fuck you, man.
That's inexcusable. The trans issue alone for me is like, if you're on that side, I want nothing to do with you. And then this remark...
That allows people to be who they are, the side that allows people to express their authentic humanity in a way that is safe, in a way that they deserve to feel, respected and cared for. If misunderstood, listened to and welcomed. But no, we can't have any of that. We can't have anything close to that. That melts the bottles. The two genders are these two strict bottles that you squeeze yourself into one. Maybe you naturally fit into one of them. Maybe that's okay for you. I kind of naturally fall on the masculine guy side. I like it. It's fun. Love my big shoulders, my horribly underdeveloped lungs. I need to get cardio bad. I'm so fucking. What the hell am I saying? So they expect conformity to these bottles, and anything that pushes outside the bottle is either going to be somehow exiled from society in terms of like opportunities and jobs, and that's the flank they're always defending, and they want to mandate conformity to these narrow definitions. Being a guy, performing masculinity for guys, which is what all these fucking dudes do. That's all this whole show is so exhausting. I've been in these spaces, not precisely the Daily Wire primary command center, but I've been around a lot of men and a lot of Midwestern men over my whole life. I've been on the inside of it in ways that a lot of people can't say they have been. And it's fucking exhausting. Because they're jealous of me. Because I'm a real man. I got a piece of wood in my camera shot. That's right, motherfucker. I picked up that pine cone myself. I built this shelf thing too, by the way. Shelf thing's awesome. I got to build more stuff. I got all kinds of cool wood shit. I even built this box. Look at this. First of all, Paul Rubin, long may he live. Cool box, huh? Yeah. Let's see you build one of these, Jordan Peterson, motherfucker. What could you do on your balcony? You're never building something this cool. Look, it even rotates. I want to design this a little bit differently, but I built my own dowel. That little peg. That's a dowel I built out of oak. Let's have a masculinity off, Jordan Peterson. Can he tie a tie the same as I? Yeah, probably. I probably fucking could. I'm very coordinated.
Remarkable confluence of people who are stunning.
Confluence of masculine traits. Look at him. He's got a Pee Wee Herman cup. What do they call this thing? Water cup. What do they call these to prevent the cup from making your coffee table get a ring of water? Coaster. He's got a Pee Wee Herman coaster. You know that is actually not the real Pee Wee. What if he believed Pee Wee was real? There's a real man has a contraptions that break open eggs for him in the morning, and it's not these kind of low testosterone eggs that the cucks on that live at Nancy Pelosi's house would eat.
Really competent.
None of this is making. I'm not. My improv is real. It's not hidden.
And there's lots of them. It's not just Musk and Kennedy. I think Tulsi Gabbard is really quite the creature. In a sane world, she would have been the Democrat nominee if they.
Is he kind of categorizing the reasonable Democrats, quote unquote, as RFK Jr., Musk, and Tulsi? This is how useful and how important to the conservative project it is to have these sort of, and these are not at all Democrats in any stretch, but they have a bit more of a pedigree where they can kind of claim that. They still like to say Tulsi Gabbard's on the fucking left or something. It's insane. Elon Musk might have expressed sort of like environmental policies as a marketing scheme to trick people into buying Teslas. But that guy's not on the like, it's just crazy that they get away with that shit.
They were looking for a minority woman president, which is a stupid thing to look for, as a category. But if they're going to pick one.
Yeah, can't have that minority woman president. That's right, Mr. Guy who sounds like a Canadian.
Is a stupid thing to look for, as a category. But if they're going to pick one, she's everything that Harris claims to be. And, well, in Vance, they just radical.
So I'm jumping around there in the that's not fun for you to watch. Let's see what this one is.
Just so they have to stop talking. Like, either way, they have to stop talking about it.
They're going to keep talking about it.
I also.
All right, not sure what that is. So let's just jump ahead a little bit. We've seen Ben sell the dildo. I've got a long way to go for this podcast. So hopefully there's fucking hell.
But the number one reason I want Donald Trump to win is because I want an end. FDR got elected to a fourth term. Let's not elect Barack Obama to a fourth term. Barack Obama has essentially been the power in the Democrat Party for the last 16 years. The reason he was so quick to advance Kamala Harris for this role is because she's a vacuous, brain-dead, probably drug and alcohol-addled non-person. I mean, she literally is the non-person player or whatever, the non-person character. Which means that Barack Obama just gets 4 more years of essentially being the most powerful person, not vested with the power of constitutional authority, but vested with just the power of influential authority in that party. I want that to be gone. If you defeat Kamala Harris now.
I think Barack Obama's done a horrible job as an elder member of the party. He's not somebody I look up to whatsoever. I think he's a terrible influence on the society. In that sense, I agree with him on that, but this is all obviously not coming from that. I mean, they have a very long and deep and well practiced foundation of, speaking about racism without saying those words and without making it explicit that that's what they're doing, which is, I noticed watching these guys talk. They talk about women. They talk about people's gender. They talk about people's race. They talk about people's, like, they're really dialed in on all that stuff, as you would expect. Identity politics, who are hyper, I don't know, I think a term that the right uses, which is I've heard Anna Kasparian using, and I'm not sure I need to look into this a little bit. The identitarianism is a thing that they talk about a lot. They're hyper focused on other people's identities. Meanwhile, they're trying to uphold a system that's literally built around privileging certain identities over others.
Now, in 4 years,
which is what America's founded on.
The Democrats are going to have to run an actual candidate. And an actual candidate will have their own opinions and their own ideas and won't just be a puppet for Barack Obama and his former staff. That's why Barack Obama doesn't want that to happen. It's why he wanted Joe Biden, even though he hates Joe Biden. But he liked the fact that Joe Biden was already dead. Yeah. He likes the fact that Kamala Harris is maybe has never been alive.
An idiot. That's right. She's a stupid fucking moron or so. Yeah. She's an idiot. I think she's a shitty politician. I think she's a bad person.
So it would just delight me if we no longer had Barack Obama.
The chief reason I would.
Oh, God, can we finally get rid of this Barack Obama? Get rid of the Barack Obama. These guys, they're so close to saying it, aren't they? They just need. I think this is where Trump comes in, is that Trump is basically the overt of he's the explicit of their implicit. He gets to say it. He gets to say the stuff. He kind of hints at it. He plays that game. But he's so much more explicit than anybody else, and that's validating to them, and they vicariously get to experience that liberation from the constraint, the little bit of constraints that come around culturally, that you're not allowed to say this term or that word or that, refer to a person using this word anymore, and that feels like oppression to these guys. And this guy comes by, blows it all up because he doesn't. None of it seems to matter to him, and not only does he not get in trouble for saying any of that shit, he seems to be rewarded for it.
I want to see Trump win. There are many, many reasons. You named most of them, but the chief one is because without violence and without violating the First Amendment, I want the news media to know how much we despise them, how much we distrust them, how much we see them lying. I do not know how to send that message any better than to reelect Donald Trump and to say, you know what?
Because it means they were irrelevant.
They were irrelevant, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
was...
Let's get some Hugh Hewitt. Like, the media feeds into that, though. The media shouldn't be trusted because they're corporate, because they're run by capitalists, because they serve the interests of the ruling class. And so over time, Americans famously poor at, tracing a symptom back to its cause. So they detect that there's bullshit going on, but they're completely griftable. They're griftees. America's a grifter's paradise. They are very easily then manipulated into blaming the wrong source. Looking left and right, looking horizontally or down at poor people, at people who are struggling, at immigrants who are trying to make their lives better, and blaming them. Anything except looking up and actually assessing that power comes from powerful people, you fucking morons. But I forgot my thoughts.
The question raised, if she loses, would they make her president for the last 3 months?
If she wins, would they make her president?
Well, why would?
Well, I thought they said if he loses.
Yeah, I thought it was.
You're correct. It's
Yeah. So I had a.
So he means if Biden drops out and then she can become president. Yeah, fuck it, do it.
I had a thought on that.
Well, okay, let's hear what Hugh Hewitt has to say about
that. It would.
If you can manipulate children using fake, they got fucking PragerU. This is he's part of the Prager University. Why am I saying Hugh Hewitt? This is Dennis Prager. Mother hell. Good God, I'm sorry. I retract and apologize, everybody. I'm so sorry for that mistake. Dennis Prager has Prager University, which there's like school districts that play their videos as educational tools, and it's just straight up right-wing conservative propaganda, straight up.
Be in our interest that she were president for 3 months, then they can never say again the first black woman president.
I just know they would do that, wouldn't they? They would just want to take that away.
They would have lost that idiotic, pointless. If there's something
pointless, why do they care about it so much? It is important. I don't like representation in the sense of, I'm for deliberately changing the way our culture represents people in terms of more inclusivity and more not just having white dudes be the leader of everything, or everything circling around what the white men are thinking or doing or wanting, or the hero is always the white guy, the person in power is always the white guy, all that stuff, all those things. I think it's really wonderful that we expand the concept that other people can be main characters in the world. And these guys act like it's not a thing, it's something to not worry about. Then why are they always worried about it? Why are they always freaking out about it? Why do they have hordes of dudes who melt down because there's a person of Asian descent in Star Wars, et cetera, et cetera? It's because their entire project is about identity and about limiting the distribution of accountability metrics to us, changing the way that applies based on your identity and what class you're in, and gifting out hall passes to tokens to allow them into the benefits of whiteness. It functions as it's a complex matrix of stuff.
Tribalism.
Let me back up. I think he says, I hate tribalism.
I loathe, it is tribalism.
If there's anything I loathe, it is tribalism.
Thing I loathe, it is tribalism. I remember,
says to the 5 other white dudes,
when a beautiful human being, Joe Lieberman, was named vice presidential candidate under Al Gore. I mean, and I knew Lieberman personally. He was talk about an honorable man in politics. Everyone recognized that. I didn't vote for him. My relatives did. And one of my relatives, who's a very, very bright and wonderful human being, said, Dennis, we finally, think about it, a Jew vice president of the United States, and you're voting for the Republicans? And I didn't bother arguing, but I realized I don't think that way. I don't believe I need to look like my leaders. I don't believe I need to be the same ethnic group or religious group. There is.
Did he? What? That's literally his whole fucking point.
I don't believe I need to look like my.
See, this is the thing: is they drape themselves in this facade that they're colorblind of some kind, even though it's very clearly not at all, not even a little bit.
I don't believe I need to look like my leaders. I don't believe I need to be the same ethnic group or religious group.
I will take a Protestant and is just as much as I would take a non-denominational Catholic. I would take he just starts naming off like weird little divisions of Christianity.
There is no part of me that understands why that is a beautiful idea.
But Dennis, don't you
They're such bullshitters, man.
think that Valium-addicted, brain-dead, young women of mixed ethnicity deserve to see a president who looks like them?
It's been too long, really. You know?
Yeah, so we couldn't have the Valium-addicted, brain-dead young women. They don't deserve a president like them. We need the Adderall-addicted guy who has the reading comprehension of a third grader at most, who can barely string two sentences together to be president. That's what
Valium-addicted.
What a bunch of assholes, man. Good God.
Deserve to see a president who looks like them?
It's been too long, really. You know?
I'm starting to get certain insinuations out of your commentary.
Isn't it time?
You get this, the argument,
I just said it out loud. Concerning insinuations about your commentary. Like that, their whole project is this. They're like an orchestra that plays subtle little notes to their audience. It's all this like thing. They don't, because it would also get boring if they just sat there screaming the N-word like they probably all want.
Certain insinuations out of your commentary.
You get this,
You know exactly what you mean, but we don't actually say it because we need to be able to have plausible deniability because it's all manipulative bullshit.
the argument, the one that drives me we want a Supreme Court that looks like America, or we want a this that looks like America.
Right.
Wait. I know I'm one of the 10 million people who've asked this question, but it's nevertheless worth asking. Does anybody rooting for their NBA team care if the team looks like him? Seriously, right?
Because he can get behind a bunch of black guys playing basketball, and therefore he's not racist. But how's that supposed to be some kind of metaphor, some kind of comparison? The Supreme Court rules over people. These guys would love to have just 9 dudes. They might say, "Oh, I'd like one woman." They've already got their lady.
That's not what they want anyway, because looks like America means that any institution is 13% black, and they want it to be a lot more than that.
Yeah.
But if we're going around the table to talk about,
don't bring in the numbers guy, Matt Walsh.
Why we want Trump to win, we've already covered a lot of the good reasons, but I also think it'll just be hilarious if Trump goes 2-0 against female candidates. If the first 2 female presidential candidates are defeated by Donald Trump.
That would be a good one.
Yeah. That is hilarious.
My answer relates to Jeremy's.
Be a good one. Wouldn't that be great? The misogynistic rapist. Rape is not a deal breaker for these guys. Rape's not a deal breaker. That's one of the things that's so depressing about it.
It's a little because
the threat that women are under, the threat that women are going to face at their most vulnerable, and it's going to affect everybody, including wealthy women, but it's going to affect, they still have options. The people that aren't paying attention to politics, the people that are going to get, forced to sit in a parking lot outside some fucking for-profit hospital until they reach a point of nearly dying. Some of them will die. This stuff kills people. And it's funny that the guy who rapes women and is a huge misogynist piece of shit who admitted to going into Jeffrey Epstein was on the Vice. There's audio of him talking about how he's best friends with Donald Trump. I was going to say Trump admitted to Howard Stern that he would go into the changing rooms at the Miss Universe pageant, or one of the pageants that he owned, to look at their underage girls. He saw a girl who was 13 and he said something like, "I'll be dating her in 5 years." And this is hilarious that he defeats 2 women.
A really insightful point, Jeremy, when you said, I want Trump to win so that the Democrats, so we can all see the day when he leaves office, and that will prove
it's Michael Knowles now.
Them wrong. And he didn't declare himself Caesar. I want Trump to be president so that he declares himself Caesar and reigns forever, and then Barron will take over after him, and we will have a glorious Pax Trumpana.
Pax Trumpana. That's a phrase he didn't just come up with.
That will augur great.
Being a little facetious, maybe he's trolling, but he knows what he's saying. They keep it seated. The dictatorship that's coming, they want that.
Goods for the world.
That's why I didn't kick the question to him. We're going to take a minute to show you some of the cool stuff going on here at Daily Wire, and we will be right back.
All right, so they have a rapport. They're kind of relaxed. I don't know. It's just obviously I'm coming from a biased perspective, but boy, the it just okay. So this part is interesting. Actually, I hadn't seen all their Daily Wire offerings, and so we do like a minute long ad that kind of gives us a sense for what Daily Wire is up to. They're way bigger than TYT. I don't know the numbers as far as something to compare to in terms of a progressive media company of where I worked for a while. And, you know, media companies look to produce media. They look to either make primary shows, they look for profitable shows, and then using some of their investing capital / profits, they can make other shows that they will hope also go big. If a media company could have 100% success rate, that would probably be the most unique and rare media company in the world. You got to try different shows. You got to see what happens. You got to make pilots. You got to see what sticks. It's a kind of an experimental process. It could take time. But so I'm pretty familiar with the Young Turks, but I hadn't really seen much of what the Daily Wire is putting out there. So here, and this is through this ad we're going to watch.
We want to be the world's greatest media company. This company represents a whole new generation. We're building alternatives, and the alternatives are working. Americans have enormous economic might. They just don't.
So that guy's name is, sorry, that guy's, it's another guy. No, okay, sorry. Jeez, I'm jumping all over. That they're doing the words after the person's on stage. Is this Ben Shapiro lookalike? This photo here is doesn't quite look exactly, but when if that's the person's name, they look just like Ben. It looks like a lady version of Ben, and like it's eerie, especially when it's not this press photo. This guy's name is Clavin something.
Economic might.
That's the bald guy.
They just don't have any alternatives, and we're going to give them to them. It's going to change everything. You can buy my new razor instead.
They're selling razors and fire.
They'll like what we make more. They'll trust what we make more. We'll hit the target.
Am I racist? Like the names of like for the guys that say none of this stuff matters, they sort of seem obsessed with identities, don't they? The film's called What is a Woman?
What we make more. They'll trust what we make more.
Walsh's next movie is Am I Racist?
We'll hit the target
because they can only win on these cultural issues. Nobody wants any of their fucking political or economic foundations. Give Elon Musk more money is essentially all it comes down to.
Every single time. Let's make a movie. We are just getting.
Well, that's that animated show.
Started. We decided
Adam Carolla was
to spend $100 million making kids content.
Sorry, let me back up. That line there is haunting. Let this freak you out. When you think about the money TYT has had available, $20 million investment, $4 million, they have a pretty big audience, blah, blah, blah. And they get a lot of heat for that. I'm making a movie about their ethics that I experienced working there, so I have my own issues. But listen to this sentence.
We decided to spend $100 million making kids content.
We decided to spend $100 million making kids content. They just had $100 million bucks to drop for stuff. This is the PragerU. This is the commercials. This is a much more coordinated project than anything that exists on the left. And this is just one media entity. We decided. They offered Steven Crowder $50 million. Like the money over there is unbelievable. They've got the billionaires. This goes back to what I was saying at the beginning. The business and the conservatives, like the inherent conservatism of society, is rooted in its function as capitalist enterprise, as being a service to the wealthy, as being for those in charge. And that means that when something is good for business, it's inherently bad for people and the planet. We have to end that.
We're going to knock it out of the park, and no one else.
Look, there's the Ben Shapiro lookalike. See? That's Ben Shapiro.
And no one else is going to do it.
American flag. 47% off. Wow.
5.
Fight.
4, 3, 2.
You go like this. You go 3. You don't say it. You don't say 1. You don't usually say 1. That way you're.
It really has been an unbelievable 4 years since the last presidential election, if you'll recall.
Let us know there, boys. Okay, fucking hell, man, this podcast. 2 hours here already. God damn it. Okay, we're getting through this. This I might save everything else for another show, as usual. Because we're coming up on 2 hours. Here's a little bit more of a majority report. They introduce a guest. This is very funny, actually. I thought they did a great job with this bit. Let's just see what they do.
Want to welcome to the program RFK Jr. Bobby Kennedy.
Hey. How you doing, Sam? Good to see you, pal.
Bobby?
Yeah.
Good to...
So it's someone using a Robert Kennedy face filter thingy, and it works really well. Not that you're supposed to think it's actually him, but it's clearly crazy. But it looks good, and it moves with his face, and his impression isn't super spot on, but the writing is good here. It's funny, and we're not going to watch all the whole thing. Majority Report probably has a clip or whatever. I don't want to take their whole deal here, but this is actually really well done. This could have been awkward and goofy, but they did a good job. So now they're interviewing Bobby Kennedy.
Good to see you.
Yeah, can we make this quick? I have a German Shepherd that's roasting on my grill right now. Got a pretty sweet roadkill. But it's good to see you, pal. Mainly because when I can see you, you can't stab me in the back.
I'm not stabbing you in the back. I mean, I think...
I'm trying to drink.
Hey, by the way, just so your audience of vaccinated snowflakes know, I'm a little tipsy tonight. I've been pounding some fermented owl urine for the past 2 hours.
Wait, so fermented apple urine?
So Sam didn't hear him say owl. That's why he thought he said apple. Sam's a big apple guy, by the way.
What did you say?
It's a cure-all. It cures measles, mumps, and I'm hoping herpes. Hey, pipe down. I hope you all choke on your kombuchas.
So, Bobby, let's start with the
Call
thing.
me Mr. Kennedy.
What?
Call me Mr. Kennedy, you son of a bitch. Traitor. God damn it.
Okay. Mr. Kennedy.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Shoot. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to get a sense. What, I know you're heavily invested in Donald Trump winning. Give me your sense of what the chances are that he will win.
Look, let me just say this one thing. She's a woman, okay? And I'm not just saying that. Well, look, this is science. The female cranium is much smaller than the male cranium. And you can't squeeze this is science now. You can't squeeze as much brains in there. So I think it would be devastating if she takes the presidency.
If she what?
If she takes the presidency, I think that would be terrible for our country.
Okay. Because of her brain size?
What? Open your ears, jackass. Listen, are you the one with worms in your brains? The female cranium is much smaller than the male cranium, so the female...
That is the kind of fucking shit he would be saying. All right, a little bit more here from the Majority Report, and then we got a few more to go.
Any updates, Emma?
Not really. I mean,
Time-wise here now, we're about 2 to 3 hours past, so we're now in like the 7:38 p.m.-ish, maybe a little bit later than that, of Pacific Coast time. Not that those numbers are super important, but just you're getting a sense for the reporting is coming in now. We're getting starting to get a picture for what's going on.
in the reality of the race right now is that it's not the blowout that we could have, anticipated or should have been.
So you hope for the blowout. You hope for those early signs. You hope to see Florida barely go red and maybe be purple or maybe go blue. unlikely. But like in those early reportings, you want to see indicators that, holy shit, she's actually going to win Georgia. Oh my God, she's going to win North. Oh my God, this is actually turning into, which means she's probably going to do better. So we're ruling out as the night goes on. You go from hope it's a blowout to it's not a blowout, but don't give up yet. To oh my God, Trump is doing better, but she hasn't lost the 3 blue wall states yet. That's important. This is what it's supposed to look like if it wasn't so we're losing a little bit of hope and energy because we're losing the possibility that it's a blowout. Totally expected. Low probability anyway. But more and more people are realizing it's not.
But in Pennsylvania, like I'm looking at Delaware County, which is massive, and only 4% of the results are in around Philadelphia. In the Philadelphia County, only 22% are in. All these suburbs of Philadelphia is where she needs to drive up numbers. And even with 33% reporting, she's up by 8 points. And so, like, you have a lot of these redder, less populous counties. Some of them don't have a ton of reporting, but we only have 33% in, so we'll see. And a lot of people are criticizing Decision Desk's decision to call North Carolina for Harris preemptively. It could still go, for Trump preemptively. It could still go for Trump still, but we just don't know at this point.
All right, we'll take a question in a moment. We got somebody, I hope this doesn't get too
Here's another guest. I don't have a ton.
contested. Do we have him on ping?
Is it easy to do? Honey?
Yeah, it's easy. Yeah.
If you're a
So Tim Heidecker, another guy I probably shouldn't be publicly criticizing.
To myself. Oh, no. You can...
So he does this bit where he's not aware that he's been called to, and it just keeps going on, and it honestly goes on forever.
Bleach your skin, though.
I'm going to bleach my
right?
butthole, too.
Yeah. Bleach it all.
I'm going to jump ahead.
Rocker guy?
Which guy is this guy? Wait,
Guy with the albino.
Coming.
It looks
The wig comes off.
Yeah.
Loves you. Vic, we love you.
Bro,
Matt,
we love you.
Tim,
All right, so skip that. It got a little tedious. It's fine. I think that guy's funny, and I think he does good work. But I found that joke to just the same joke happens for like 20 minutes, not that long. But all right. Little correction, by the way. That stuff we just did with Majority Report was actually a little bit earlier in the night, I think. Again, like I said, I wasn't really super accurate about all this, but this one here is reported at least at around 10 o'clock. I read the number a little bit wrong in the previous one, but anyway, I hope it doesn't screw up the video too much. But we're back to the Daily Wire, and things are starting to look not great for Harris. It's starting to look good for this crew.
It feels
and they have there's a moment here that you'll see what I'm getting at.
It feels good. I don't want to get out in front of my skis. It feels good though.
I hear you. No, I'm there with you. Can I get a cigar?
Hunting cigars to celebrate. These dudes love their cigars. That's a sign of masculinity, as you all know. A brown liquid and a cigar is what makes a real man, and nothing else. Don't have to respect other people except for other real men. And you just put your cigar in your finger, and it's kind of like you're putting something in your mouth that's moist.
You can.
Oh
especially
my
you.
gosh. Well, I'm just asking. Let's not take what everyone's like.
Man.
It's the art of the deal. I was asked earlier.
Well, that's Tim Pool laughing back there, by the way. Tim Pool joined them for a nice long bit.
The light, the dark, the big, the small.
What's the difference? I'll get one of the light ones.
So he holds up the box. He gets to pick out the cigar. Now we're going to toss the cigar.
The light one is the Mayflower Dawn. Is it Dawn in America? The dark one is the Mayflower Dusk.
Do you clearly don't watch this podcast because I do, and I know the names and the smoke.
Did you want to advertise it instead of it?
God, these guys just all stink. That fucking cigar smell. I do kind of like it in small doses where it's just sort of a unique and strong smell. But people who smoke cigars fucking reek. Here's the throw. Let's see.
Yeah, that's what we're waiting on.
Nailed it. Michael Knowles.
Yeah, that's what we're waiting on.
Good technique. It landed where close enough for the guy to...
Something to celebrate officially.
Real men of genius.
I'm so ashamed that we let him not only go over there, but take us all on that journey
On set.
of hearing him
We're gonna do it
peddle
on
his
set
cigars.
It's like
If I didn't know
So the map showing Trump 246 to Kamala 177. Big lead, but lead doesn't mean it's like the a phone. It's a sense. It's not the way it works, but it's the way the media reports it as someone gets a front runner and in the lead, and they depend. I hate that they report it like that, but nevertheless, he was actually going to eventually win, unfortunately. All right, so then we get back over to TYT. Cenk is interviewing Steve Cohen.
I'll do plain talk back to you. I don't think that the Democrats get it at all. I think they're going to go kiss more donor ass. They're going to leave their voters behind, and like you said, they're going to whine. And so, does anybody in Congress understand how much the country hates the establishment and how the Democratic Party looks like they're the establishment?
Well, no, I think that Citizens United is awful. And it's terrible that Trump has Peter Thiel and Elon Musk jumping around showing off their poopik and thinking they're somebody, some cheerleader type. But they made a difference and they gave them money. And Robert Kennedy's going to be.
I jumped ahead to this part here. This is actually a little bit before that part. I wanted to see what wasn't an interview. So here's TYT. Later in the night, now we are in about the 10:30 p.m. Pacific time, roughly.
The vice president there, but it's certainly could close it. The votes that they're waiting for are mostly from districts.
They're looking at a map of North Carolina
and counties that would favor Kamala Harris.
All right, next TYT reporter says this feels like a red mirage. It could be, and I hope you're right. And what a red mirage is Donald Trump gets more day of voters. The Democrats get more mail-in voters, and it takes a while to count the mail-in voters. So it looks like he's got a lead, but then last time Biden closed it because of that phenomenon, and maybe Kamala Harris will close it here, which goes to the point that Michael was making. This is a little bit similar to where we were with Biden. It doesn't feel that way, but I understand that point of view. CB1 hilariously says, I'm sure the real estate guy will fix housing. Of course, that's a joke because there's no chance that Donald Trump is either going to fix housing or even going to try to fix housing.
Because business interests, being involved in supplying humans with a basic human need, inevitably is going to create people who are excluded from that basic human need, because making money is what it's about. It's not about actually housing people. It's fucking disgusting that we allow that.
He has no.
Cenk would probably take issue with what I just said, though.
Plan. He has no concepts of a plan. And when private equity guys are buying up all of our houses, driving up prices tremendously, but all they got to do is give Donald Trump like $50, and he'd be like, yeah, do whatever you want. So that's how that's going to end.
Yeah.
Let's go to more.
I want to mention one state, and this is the frustrating thing that I'm trying to figure out. There
might be for some of those restrictions on private equity, but he's an avowed capitalist who gets touchy at the idea that you should tax billionaires out of existence. You know, I don't think he sees any issue with exploiting people, and I don't take what he says as good faith, considering the experience I had there with getting, working full time for zero benefits, and I had to start a union just to try to get health insurance.
Generally, there are different sites that are tracking the numbers, and they're getting it from, in some cases, the same place, in some cases.
He's the child of a very successful, wealthy landlord.
Cases others. And generally, the differences between the two are small. We have one case here where the differences are not small. So I've been following Michigan. Generally, we're using as our main source of information the New York Times. And they have had him up between 4 and 5 points, okay, which is significant. CNN, with almost the exact same percent in, has her up by 3 points.
Where is this? In
CNN,
Michigan.
in Michigan. So massive gap between the.
All right, we're getting a sense that they're not having a good time, but I didn't do a great job getting the rest of the videos I could have done. I was starting to get just despondent, and I needed to get away from it. So this part here, I think we're getting some questions from the audience, and I think we're not going to play this entire clip here, but Francesca Fiorentini, former co-worker, colleague of mine from the Young Turks, has joined Emma and Sam on stage in New York. Let's go hit.
Not about learning for the next time. There's no other option. You only go in this direction. It's not, and that's it. But thanks for the question. We got to go up to the next one. Appreciate it. We got to be quick because we got to get out of here in about.
You were not passed out drunk earlier. I thought you were a man passed out drunk earlier, but you're not. You're very cogent and sober.
Oh! Yeah, I mean, I was confused for a second.
This sound will come back again.
Oh! Yeah, I mean, I was confused for a second. I'm Sammy from Brooklyn.
Sammy from Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, okay, before the
I think I had this on 1.25. That's why it's coming out. They're a little
the
fast.
question, I just wanted to say real quick that Sam, like, in all honesty, you really did, I mean, besides Kyle Kalinske, I think you were probably the next most influential person for me to get into politics.
All right, well, I
And,
appreciate it.
and I mean, I used to like, I used to go from someone who was like an enlightened centrist to actually like Dave Rubin to, wait, let me finish. I went from that, and then right around the 2020 election, he blocked me on Twitter, and he still does to this day. So, I mean, and Emma Vigeland also, I used to watch you when you were in Rebel HQ. So,
Thank you so much.
It's great to see you on.
Oh yeah, best part of it.
Yeah, but my question is like, something that I've noticed is that a lot of the people around me, especially other young men, I'm 24, so I'm pretty young, are just like really just buying into this like red pill bullshit. And a lot of the media that they follow is not like mainstream media, but it's like non-corporate media, but not the one like that you guys run. It's like people who are like, Fresh and Fit or like Tim Pool or any of those other guys, right? And the question is like, those guys are clearly either just grifters or insane.
Shrek is Hezbollah.
And I guess like, what is the solution? Because a lot of these people who also like call themselves like leftists, like Jimmy Dore, right? They're really not, obviously. But people still follow them and listen to them and think that they're credible. And I just don't like, I don't know that many people who actually just watch the same content that I do in terms of this. And it's like, I'm not a doomer usually, but it really is like demoralizing to see that, to see young men just like fall for these like charlatans and grifters. So like, what is the solution?
Someone in the chat, I just saw it scroll by, said Tim Pool has 160K watching now. Yeah. There's a lot of money on that side. A lot of people that are pulled into it. This guy's speaking to a very serious problem that's going to be that needs to be dealt with in the next several hundred years, probably. America's just a shitty dude factory, and we're really cranking up production. It doesn't seem to be slowing.
For that.
Need a shitty dude? You know where to get one.
I mean, I think media literacy is a solution.
Dude who's totally okay with rape? America. Right here.
But that's not one that you can, impose upon people. They have to adopt themselves. I think, it's something that we try and think about. I'm not sure that we've figured it out because there's an allure. We live in a country where there's rewards for a certain facileness. I don't know, maybe that's not the right word, but I mean, the fact of the matter is, Tim Pool doesn't do any fucking work. He doesn't give a shit. No, honestly. I mean, I went down there and I was shocked. I was shocked, honestly. And
it's interesting. I'm looking forward to him talking more about his trip to Tim Pool. I actually bookmarked a bunch of stuff that I want to cover. Sam went on Tim Pool, long, kind of drawn out story to get him to go onto that. There was a bunch of bullshit. So he finally did, and it was a very interesting watch, frustrating too. But Sam's mom died like 2 days after on Saturday. Like, apparently had been foreseen. Wasn't sudden, but I'm not sure if whatever, who cares if they expected. Point is, he got very distracted, and he, this is Tuesday night, so he was, he's sitting Shiva, I think is what they say, for the next 2 days. I think he might be on the show on Friday. So anyway, people are in the majority report audience are looking forward to what he has to say about Tim Pool. But it is interesting that he just kind of said Tim Pool doesn't do shit. I mean, the bosses don't. The people that run the thing, they just give orders and sit around.
But I don't.
We should apologize to Russia.
I don't know what the answer is, at least from our perspective, from our narrow perspective. But we got to get to a couple more questions. But believe me, it's something that
we're thinking about.
It's something we're thinking about a lot.
Thank you, guys.
People have added the line, not appropriate.
If you're in line, stay in line.
No. We can't have more people.
I mean online, I'm sorry.
Someone
I'm
added the
fucking
line.
New
You
York.
cannot do it. Okay.
We're
Gotta
all
be quick.
online.
Honestly, we only have about 15, 20 minutes left.
Hello, this is Ramona from New Hampshire, a.k.a. Ramona Frankenstein from the IMs.
Oh, hey.
Ramona Frankenstein.
Whoa! First, I just want to say to Violet, I love you. Thank you for your song. You're beautiful. Second, I want to give some good news because we've had none of that tonight. So, I just want to let you guys know that we have the first ever out trans person elected to Congress tonight in Sarah McBride in Delaware. And as someone who was deeply closeted during the Bush administration, I can't imagine what it would have meant to see someone like her in a position of power. It's beautiful, incredible. I am my heart is so full for that. I also just want to, again, as Violet said, you guys are so good on trans issues. I am so appreciative. Emma, Francesca, I really want you guys to know that I really appreciate having two cis women who are vocally pro-trans, because they try to make it seem like a feminist issue, that we are a problem. We are not. You give proof to that. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Trans women are a part of the feminist movement. And
Hell yes, we are.
Telling you differently.
I'll tell you. Tell me your name again. Tell me her name again. Ramona. I mean my cat, who I love.
Okay. This final one, just to give us a feeling. It was coming through so loud on the stream, on the Majority Report stream. It was made it tough to watch.
Work with that has one of those like autographed Rush Limbaugh coffee tumblers, and he
I'm back to 1x speed here.
has Newsmax on one of his computer screens. Oh, exactly. It is cringy.
Is that Tony Soprano or something? Or because there's another one that he,
Cringy and
like there's something there.
oh, exactly. It is cringy and weird. The amount of people I work with that support that guy, and yet if
I might have done a little bit less of. It was just so fucking loud. All right, so there you go. There's your sense. I didn't get a lot of great videos. I could have easily. Well, maybe I was just so fucking beat up and tired of it, and I went to bed around 9 o'clock. We're gonna jump over real fast. Let's see if we can get this. All right, so a bit of an edit there. I jumped over. I realized I screwed up my audio recording. It's salvageable, but it just means I'm gonna have to do a shit ton more editing than normal to get those first 2 hours. And it's really the worst timing to do it because I needed to. It's all the video stopping and starting. It was recording it on the wrong track. It's fine. It'll just take work. Fuck. So avoidable. Just a knob on my mixing board I needed to turn down. So I have a bunch of links set up here. We're already well over 2 hours, and I don't necessarily want to make this a super long one. I'll just play the first one here. As you can see, not good news here. Just one of these ABC News.
An ABC News election update. Now reporting, David Muir.
Good morning. It's now 5:35 here in the East. We are allowing all of our stations across the country to join us now with the breaking news. We are projecting at this hour the 47th president of the United States, Donald Trump, will be elected to return to the White House.
5:35 in the East. That seems a little early, right? What the hell is he?
Not consecutive terms, we mentioned a moment ago as we were on our air with our coverage, the first since Grover Cleveland to serve non-consecutive presidential terms. Donald Trump returning to the White House as the 47th president of the United States. He does so with Wisconsin now in his win column. Of course, there are a number of states on the map that still look pretty favorable for Donald Trump tonight, but Wisconsin was the state that put him over the map.
God damn it. It's so gross, man. Let's go to the next one. Steve Kornacki, tell us.
Kornacki, I just have to jump. Steve Kornacki, I just have to jump in. And you've been predicting this. We've been waiting for it. And we do have some breaking news from the decision desk. NBC News can now project that Donald Trump has won the state of Wisconsin, which means he is the winner of this race and will return to the White House as this country's 47th president. And for so many
I can't even look at the piece of shit.
watching right now, that news is, to say the least, a lot to digest. I understand that personally. After he lost 4 years ago, he refused to accept the outcome and incited a violent insurrection on our nation's capital. He's campaigned while facing criminal indictments related to his efforts to overturn the 2020 results, and he's run as a convicted felon. During this campaign, he has also promised to essentially be an authoritarian leader, to use power like
God,
no
it makes my skin crawl just having that fucking guy on the screen. I used to have to Photoshop his face all the time for doing like thumbnails and stuff at the Young Turks and for Jimmy Dore and for other stuff. And so I just, when you do that and you're editing videos, doing Photoshop stuff, making thumbnails, you're just staring, you get so closely into the subject. It's not that it takes super precise, you know, but it's Trump's face. The whole thing is enraging that we have to now to have this fucking guy hounding our culture and people celebrating it and people knowing going in. I don't necessarily think people who voted for Trump have the same knowledge base I have or you have. That's part of the issue, is that the fracturing of media is so widely so well done. Not that the solution is to have one source of information, but people have all kinds of crazy ideas for why they're voting, for what reasons they voted. We're going to get back to this video here. I'm going to save a bunch of these links. I just don't have time for today, but I did want to share this one. If it's the one I'm thinking, yeah, here we go. So here's a good example of like a student, a young woman who, if she were sexually assaulted, would, and was impregnated, would be forced to carry her rapist baby if the GOP gets their way. For so many of them, and see this as a project to assert their power over women and to put them into their cage that they so rudely demanded to be released from. They want to recreate that, and one of those ways is forcing you to carry the to term your rapist's child. But she has a justification for, maybe she's against abortion personally. You know, this is not necessarily just to pick on this person, but this just gives you an idea of how the information from the Republicans gets disseminated to people, and the kind of stupidity that people think of.
And I like that he didn't actually plan to ban abortion. He just brought it back to the States.
No, that's this bullshit thing that they've been saying, is that no, Trump's not, because they know it sounds bad. They know people don't want to vote for a guy who's looking to ban abortion, except that's exactly what Trump will do. He might not fully, he might parse the word out of sheer political calculation, but he doesn't have to do any of those calculations anymore. And she just repeats this complete nonsense that it's not actually banning abortion. It's just putting it back to the states. This is exactly the states' rights with slavery. Are we okay with slavery because because some states decide that it's okay and others don't? This is this concept of federalism that is, in some ways, defensible as kind of an experimental thing that eventually leads towards. But when you're talking about civil rights and bodily autonomy and human beings being allowed to do what they want with their body, the most fundamental freedom is the freedom to control your own body. The idea that it's just, oh no, he's not banning abortion. It's just the states. It's just such a, and maybe she knows what she's not saying here, but I suspect not. This is the kind of thing that gives you a sense for the way that people process information. I am probably foisting some assumptions onto this person. I don't know their background, but.
And I like that he didn't actually plan to ban abortion. He just,
like, presumably she's for the right to control whether you're pregnant or not as a person, but that it's not that he, so she's giving him credit for like defending abortion. No, it's just I don't know. I just found this frustrating.
just brought it back to the States.
Yeah, that's just frustrating to me. And then finally we'll end here. This is the final thing. What is this one? I just had a bunch of shit. David Graeber, he's dead. Great guy. He wrote a book, Bullshit Jobs, and his co-authored a book recently that came out in the last like 4 years. I think he wrote it before he died, obviously. I don't know this co-author's name, but The End of Everything, I think it's called. I need to get a hold of his works. Part of what I'm hoping to do, I know I've been saying this for a while, but I feel like this election is a big pivot point, is like read more, less phone time, less screen time, less Twitter by a lot more, and try to just lean into the things I need to do to keep my mind healthy and my body healthy so that I can do better. I'm not doing great physically. I don't know. I'm struggling a bit. So point is, though, I saw this up anytime David Graeber's speaking, it's usually worth a listen. So here's everything. This is from Double Down News. Everything that's wrong with liberal centrism in under 3 minutes, as told by the late, great David Graeber.
The kind of politics we have now, where the left is represented by this kind of Obama-Macron-style centrism, where you're both for the market and for bureaucracy at the same time. It's kind of horrible, right? The only possible appeal of that kind of politics is, well, at least they're not Nazis, right? So what they want is the left to be this kind of mishmash of bureaucratic market centrism, and the right to be outright fascist. to set the ball rolling in an actual left direction will make that centrism look like utterly unappealing. In France, sometimes they talk about the extreme center, and I think that's a fitting phrase. It strikes me that what's called the moderates are the most immoderate people possible. And the reason why they're so uncompromising, I think, is because they realize they don't have a lot of positive arguments. They're not really for anything. I mean, somebody like Obama, the reason he worked was because he looked like the kind of guy who would have a vision. He acted like a visionary. He had the intonation. He had the way of standing and looking into the distance like he really believed in something. And it shows you something about just how much visionary politics has been killed. It didn't even seem to occur to people to ask what his vision actually was, right? Because it turns out, insofar as he had a vision, his vision was not to have a vision. You know, he believed in pragmatism and compromise and so forth. And that's what
they just showed him with Michelle Obama. She's the one canoodling with George W. Bush. Obama. I mean, this is this ruling class solidarity stuff. Yeah, he brought in Wall Street tycoons immediately to manage the recovery from the 2008 housing crash, and they just bailed out their banker buddies. You know, Obama tricked people. Obama didn't. You know, it's devastating for the future. It could have been so much different, and just his very existence was enough to crack, break the brains of so many Americans, so many white Americans who saw a black guy having a space of kingly authority as such a threat to the structure that they, at least not necessarily conscientiously know of or consciously, but they sort of intuitively grip onto this notion of bureaucracy and hierarchy. Like those Daily Wire guys we've been watching, their whole thing is defending the hierarchy, is asserting. That's why they're so obsessed with those below the hierarchy and making sure that they stay in their place, because that has to be rigorously enforced. The bolts have to be constantly tightened on this vertical column that they look up to. And their whole thing is they want to be betas to Trump's alpha. They respond to Trump's alpha domination bullshit. And Trump does a lot of very subtle yet powerful dominance signaling. Something I'm going to talk about when I get to the Sam Cedar on Tim Pool appearance that I want to break down is this, because that's what I was just thinking is watching Tim Pool is just like, oh, this guy's just super insecure, but he's got this commanding kind of voice tone and he can speak quickly and he can interrupt, and that comes off as dominance, and therefore he's asserting something against. I have a couple pieces picked out that I want to get to, but these dudes that are all about freedom and liberty and their whole all their bullshit, their cigar slurping bullshit, it's because they're trying to enforce and protect the verticality of the hierarchy that sustains their incredibly privileged and profitable position, their high status, especially if on like that like millionaire media circuit that they're on. You know, those fucking dudes have made a tremendous living. Why wouldn't they want to defend the system that brought them that? But what's just so striking to me is that they're doing it so that they could be betas to. I don't like calling people betas and alpha. I'm doing this on purpose, but like they want to be betas to Trump. That's their whole deal. They're comforted by hierarchy. Hierarchy is proof that the system is working as it's supposed to, and it requires lies, it requires violence, and it requires manipulation. Matt Walsh tweeted today, basically saying, like, because I don't have it right in front of me, but like, oh yeah, we're not actually, okay, now that the election's over, the Project 2025 is the agenda, LOL, something very close to that. They were lying. They knew that shit would look bad. They know, and the voters, you have to just, the cat just meowed. The voters have to distinguish, are its own category versus those, like the operators, the people who run the media companies, the people who are, that you see publicly. Anyway, that's the rest of David Graeber. There's about half more to go here.
And that's what the center has been reduced to. It's become this pure set of performative symbols. And at the same time, you get to feel morally superior, which is ultimately what liberal centrism is all about, is the ability to feel better than other people. So there is a kind of a symbiosis whereby the right wing pretend to be stupid, like George Bush II sort of perfected this, like, I'll act like a yokel.
It's B-roll of George Bush holding a cowboy hat. This is during his brush clearing press junkets.
All of the liberals will make fun of me as an idiot. Everybody who resents the sort of cultural elite for having monopolized all the good jobs will look at them sneering at me and say, yeah, I bet those guys feel the same way about me as they feel about Bush. I'll vote for Bush. Ha ha ha, stick it to him, right? You know, that shtick, Trump is just doing it in a more extreme version of the same thing. Johnson's doing the same thing. You know, you act like an idiot, the people who are sort of educated elite make fun of you, and it works. Now, who's really the idiot, right? People keep falling for the same stupid trick over and over and over again. There's a symbiotic relationship between these centrists who are just sort of sneering elitists and these guys who are the scam artists who pretend to be yokels, who pretend to be idiots, or pretend to be fascists. They're not even real fascists. They're kind of phony fascists. They are trying to set up a situation where those are the only two viable political choices because they both feed off and complement one another.
In loving memory of David Graeber. Yes, sir. Thank you. And that made me think of this quote. Lyndon Johnson, if you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't. Oh, God. Let me start over. If you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you. And that includes labor. That's a lot of that work. This is the work produces the profits. Without it, there's no profits. Without the actual human beings showing up with their entropy tightening ability, unique among all organisms known in the universe, in my opinion, far more than other animals, our ability to hold abstract information in tight clusters of entropy, of tightened entropy, as well as physical entropy tightening. That's why they're going to replace us with robots, because humans are problems to the wealthy. We're sloppy, we're annoying, we're loud, we're different. We have opinions. We need sleep. We don't like being abused. We start unions when we don't have health insurance at the home of progressives. And if they could get you to just have a human-shaped robot, and of course all the other possible shapes of robots, sometimes all you need is an arm. But for a world like this, they'll whittle the population down if they can just have continent-wide systems producing robots. So, not to mention the kind of, I think there's a very dark side to that too, is where they'll maintain populations of people that they can abuse and use. But before we get to that, we'll see artificial intelligences that are existing just to be abuse victims, just so that they can express the sharp teeth of highly disordered, dysregulated people. We're not producing good humans here. There's a lot of good people, but there's just not enough. And there's not enough cognitive horsepower or cognitive capacity. There's too much stress. There's too much degradation. We waste potential. We make people susceptible to con men like Trump and to being manipulated and to being useful fools. And so people just emptying their pockets. This is what people are going to do for Elon Musk. They're not going to just empty their pockets. They're going to allow them to cut holes in their heads and put chips in their brains. Elon Musk is the most supervillain story imaginable. Guy's got spaceships. He's got Starlink. This thing, that globe-spanning satellite system that delivers internet. He's got social media company. He's probably got his investments in all kinds of other stuff. Obviously the electric car thing, and of course, he's the beneficiary of tremendous amounts of public largesse, of free government money and government support. And yet now he's going to have a massive role in the most tyrannical administration that is going to take over America. And I think that they're playing the odds and the numbers game of Trump at his age, maybe not surviving all 4 years. And then they've got their guy, JD Vance, in there. And it's so bad. It's so fucking bad. So this whole thing is horrible. I'll try to get back to the rest of these eventually. Thank you for tuning in. I got to edit a lot. I really fucked up. That's so annoying. I'm so frustrated I did that. But thanks for watching. Take care of yourself. I'm actually feeling somewhat calm's not the right word, but I feel a relief, at least, that we've reached this election, because it was really bottling things up, just not knowing where things were going to be. And it's not okay to like dilly-dally anymore. I've just got to shift my habits and work on things to a point where my brain's not such a mess all the time. Because I got a lot to do with the TYT project. I'm looking forward to like kind of, you know, not dust. Yeah, it's gotten a little bit dusty. But you know, pushing on that more, focusing on that, maybe some other video output projects, and trying to find some money, either through income or a GoFundMe or both, one or both somehow. That's scary. But you know, I'm already so far down this project with TYT that it's difficult to say there's no turning around now. It's depressing to have to do it. I mean, I'm hoping that there's a community of people, and I've seen some comments that are really supportive, so I'm super grateful for that, and some donations that are just fantastic. Like, really, like I have a lot of my own reasons for why I believe what I believe, but for a lot of this time, I've just been operating with my own sense there, and getting other people validating that is really, truly wonderful. That's what I got though. I'm good. I got to get food. This won't be up until Thursday. If I can get it done. Sorry, it's Tuesday now. So maybe it'll be up Wednesday, maybe Thursday. I don't know. But more clips from a couple of these two. I do want to do a video about Cenk saying he's not a union buster. I found that really funny. So I have a huge breakdown in one of these videos I got to do. And I might even do like a short version of it, like a more edited cut of that, because that's such a clear, easily debunked bullshit thing that the guys asked, are you a union buster? No, I am definitely not a union buster. And then we'll have reams of evidence. And he goes, what evidence? It's like, come on, man. So I'll probably make some sort of small mini doc kind of thing for that one. And other than that, be okay. It's okay to be okay. You don't have to suffer through your phone for the world to get better. It's not okay. Like, let it go. Turn off the phones, get off the screens, get offline, especially if you're on Twitter. That is a highly controlled GOP environment. It's not a safe space to be. I don't trust communications on that platform either. And look out. Maybe be careful. I know there's a privilege to turning off too if you have to. But you shouldn't feel guilty for using that. You're not doing anybody any good if you're not okay enough to function. I need money. I mean, that's the foundation I have to focus on. I'm not. I really should be homeless. And the stress that's causing is just overwhelming. So what good is it for me to just be the guy who's, you know, trying to talk the world into some sanity through this podcast while on my own life? I have a cat that I have meltdowns because I have a nice cat. So I'm going to focus on getting rid of the cat, finding a home. What a hard problem that is. Jesus Christ. But, okay. Big breath. Life goes on. Keep going. It was going to be shitty under Kamala too. Let's remember that. You would have felt better today. You would have probably felt a lot better for so many reasons, but she was still just part of the system of managing the destruction of the planet so that rich people can have enough money for millions of years. That's the economic system we have that we're doing right now. And the Democrats are fully committed to it while doing a genocide, while actively shredding through the bodies of people. It's just fucking disgusting. The whole thing, everything, every bit about it is depressing and horrible. All right. Well, that's good. That's a great way to end. All right. Sorry. Bye.